Warning, nuclear launch detected.
OWO nuke.
Hello. How is everyone doing today? You guys ready for some good old excitement? Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a special event for you all. But thank you for stopping by so early as we are just getting started here. Just starting off the third AI tournament. We are going to be matching AI against each other and smashing them at maximum APM. And it is absolutely going to be amazing. This time, guys, this one is extra special because we are actually participating. I believe first in the bracket. I think I'm actually first in these brackets. So this first upcoming match will see my AI fighting off against, I believe it's Felix's. So that's going to be quite something. But let me go ahead and hop into the voice chat here, and let's get this party started. As we have Spotted Hyena coming in with the preemptive strike. Hello there, thank you for starting things off strong. Ah, beautiful. Alright, so it looks like we're all good here. I should be able to just start things off. Is that... What? Did we just get... Did we just get an absolute megaton from Osprey 28? Hello there.
Warning. Nuclear launch detected.
It looks like we've got ourselves a huge nuke to start things off here. Can we get some love in chat for Osprey?
I've come to inform you all the ancient Greeks spelled Thoth, the Egyptian deity, as Thoth. So it's not inappropriate to say, Thoth, what's this?
I appreciate that text-to-speech actually pronounced that correctly, and I'm actually good. I need to steal that. That's amazing. That's actually amazing. Like, woo! Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and hop into the voice chat here. And we'll do... And we'll go. Let's see, we have Lance and Shield. We have Lance and Shield and Cronkinator here. Hello there.
Hello.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Awesome, this is exactly what I want to hear. Okay, so first off on the bracket, it looks like we actually have myself on Team 1 versus Felix on Team 2, and of course this is all AI, so this is going to be great fun. Did you guys have anything you wanted to say before we started out?
I'll just say I'm excited to see what has been come up with for the 2v2s.
Oh, yes. So for those who don't know, this is actually a 2v2 tournament. This is going to be 2 AIs versus 2 AIs. And if the AI creators Discord last night is going to be any indication, most of these AI were created in a few hours last night because apparently everyone is a procrastinator, myself included. So I am very curious to see all the spaghetti that happens from this. Okay then, I think we should be good to go. We have observer tools on. Does anyone want to say anything before we start, or should we just get going here?
I see no reason to delay.
Alright, let's hop right into it. Without players here, with just AI, very dependable, we have a lot of... No need to do a lot of cat herding. Let's go. Ready when you are. Alright, so we have started off here. On the left-hand side, we have the Incursus AI going for all kinds of shenanigans. And on the right-hand side, we have Felix's AI. That's going to be... Looks like he's opening with some... It's going to be double upgrade center. That's usually going to be AP sniper shenanigans. Oh, boy. Dead right coming in with the nuclear
any chance
launch.
You would go back to the campaign and do
I appreciate
100
the
completion?
background turbines
Love the stream.
on
Throwing
the ground
kisses.
from you, Incursus.
Well, I'm glad you enjoy.
The
I
floor
have the
is
base...
non-existent on this map, so that's a viable option for turbines.
Yes, the rear turbines, they were great fun. It's something I've played around with a lot, but barring the APM to really make use of it, I just don't usually play around with that because it takes so much from the early game when you have to do that kind of bracing. But you can make up for it with AI. Now, of course, this is AI versus AI, and they can punish each other for it. But I think things are going to kick off real early here as we have double door snipers happening from both bases out of Felix, and just regular tiny door snipers out of my own little bit here. But my tiny doors not immune to the AP sniper shenanigans that are about to happen, and that could spell disaster for my own AI here. Yes, to answer your question, I have the base game
Looks like
completed
miniguns
on
from
hard.
top base
I haven't
from
done
Felix.
Moonshot on hard.
Putting down the minigunners, machine gunners.
So he has... Looks like he's going full early game, which is an interesting decision. We don't usually see minigunners out of the AI with the, shall we say, large number of snipers around. Minigunners tend to have a really hard time staying alive. Makes for some particularly difficult times for minigun strategies, but I am curious to see how this works out. I imagine there's going to be quite a fair few AI that will fall to this kind of early game aggression. And again, a fair few AI fall to themselves and their own soft blocking abilities.
That minigun is not going to survive long. Those doors, the moment they're open,
Yes.
those snipers are going to shred them.
And we see exactly that happening here. It's every time these miniguns, they open their doors to fire one shot, they get absolutely obliterated. The snipers, they're just so aggressive. I think the only reason that minigunner survived is because the snipers were otherwise occupied shooting at an exposed turbine, which I suppose that makes sense. It doesn't really make sense, but the AI have a lot of weird quirks. Notice how these snipers are just absolutely fixated on shooting down this turbine. It makes it difficult to work around that, because as an AI, they don't really have a brain. They just shoot at whatever they feel like shooting at. And for whatever reason, turbines have a ridiculously high threat rate, so they just get targeted by everything sniper related. So it makes it, if you just have a turbine exposed, things like those miniguns tend to have a survival time longer than you would anticipate. Now, of course, the miniguns, they are still getting shot down, but still, in a battle where one sniper can be the difference between winning and losing, having many dozens of rounds sank into a wind turbine can be a world of difference.
It looks like your top AI is finally getting its mortars ready to be placed.
Yes. I went for a different kind of strategy here. I was taking it very slow and tried to avoid allowing problems to happen. Just slow, defensive, apply some pressure, and then ramp it up. And at about the 5-minute mark is when my AI actually starts fighting back. As up to this point, not a whole lot has happened.
It looks like Felix's attempt to do some early harassment has been pretty well countered by your AI sniper spam with all those tiny doors.
Yes, I was so happy I got those tiny doors to work. For quirk reasons for the AI tends to have a little bit of trouble working with small doors. So it took me longer than I would like to admit to get those tiny doors to work.
Yeah, those tiny struts, if the AI a little bit of base wobble can really make it not want to listen to your build order.
Exactly. AI is not very good at adapting, and if it has to adapt to a grid space being misaligned by just ever so slightly, then it can break it. So I had to make it a few times to deal with that kind of scenario. Looks like
We did actually forget the time limit, but I don't think this match will go on for very long.
Well, I will tell you this. Personally, I'm okay with the time limit because I didn't quite nail my AI quite right, and it basically soft locks itself at around the 12-minute mark, and doesn't unsoft lock itself until the 15-minute mark. After which it starts going on to phase 2 of actually trying to obliterate the opponents. So the round will end eventually if you leave my AI, because my AI just keeps building for forever. But we do have a time limit, and I think we can safely call it at the time limit for the sake of consistency.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing I noticed right now is your bottom base has not replaced the wood in front of its core, making it very vulnerable to an AP sniper in that spot, right? You see that missing wood brace?
I'm curious as to why it hasn't
hasn't
replaced
bothered
that.
repairing it.
Like, it has built turbines, which are more expensive than wood. It has the energy. My bases are floating energy. In fact, its forward base is floating metal. Which is really sad. And I don't know why it's not rebuilding. And it makes me anxious that it's not rebuilding, but that kind of thing does happen.
Thankfully, your sniper spam has been able to handle all the AP snipers. He keeps on having to replace them, which is really sucking the metal from both of their bases.
Yes. I was wondering, because the bases on Team 2 haven't moved on toward heavier weapons or really any kind of extra damage potential. Usually...
Well,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you can see the workshop on top base. I imagine it's gonna try to go into nukes after suppressing the opponent with the miniguns, and then when the nukes land, that would end the enemy.
Right. And that makes sense. It just seems that Team 2's AI got kind of stuck on the snipers just by virtue of losing the sniper war very, very handily. It's just quite one-sided, really.
The mortars are landing.
Yeah.
I see them.
And they are doing damage. They are doing a lot of damage. And oh look, Team 1's AI has moved on to its next phase. Instead of just being sniper support, it's looking to get some damage output to supplement the mortar spam out of Team 1's AI. Ah. It has finally covered its spot, kind of. It didn't rebuild that single wood plank that broke, nor has it repaired the area around it. But it has covered it up, which is almost the same thing.
No, it's no longer vulnerable, which is what counts.
Yes. Oh, jeez.
Those nukes are landing right on the spot, right on the core. They're laser accurate, those mortars.
They
It's
are.
scary.
It is scary. One thing I saw when I was doing a brief round of testing is it fired all 6 mortars and did basically what it did just there.
Yeah, yeah. Just all 4 converging
All
onto the
4
exact
converging
same
into the
point.
same spot, just decimating the core. It was like, oh my lord. So Felix's AI gets shut down, and there it is. I'm curious to see how much damage it did. It did very little damage. But that is the end of this round. Team 1. My own AI advances. I'm so happy about that. You have no idea. I spent like 4 hours on this, and I had other things to do in between. Oh, I'm so excited, guys. We actually moved on to round 2.
So far, your AI has been looking pretty good. The AI has really handled Felix's early attack quite well.
That is
Felix
really
has been
enjoyable.
knocked out.
Oh, that's right. These are bests of ones for this. So if we lose RNG or whatever reason, that is going to be the end of us and our journey to victory. All right. So while we do some switching around of the AIs and get prepared, do you have anything any comments? Like I know there was a lot of shall we say analysis on these maps, on these AI beforehand. Do you have any insight into that?
So, to reword what you're saying, to make sure I understand, you're saying like
Warning.
how people
Nuclear
have
launch detected.
already have knowledge on similar maps, like on vanilla. Is that what you're saying?
I was more so referencing that the players have been testing around with the AI themselves beforehand, because a lot of us, we actually have access to each other's
Thanks
AI.
for the fort's content.
So we were able
Oh,
to...
you're talking about the spoilers, how
Yes.
they test them themselves. Yeah,
Do you
I
have
tend
any
to stay
predictions?
away from that.
Ah.
My predictions.
Hey,
They're-
James.
they're-
Glad
they're
you
the
enjoyed.
good
Thank you
players
so
that
much.
are good with normal forts,
Such a
and usually
nice support
a lot of
message.
those skills can transfer if they know how to design a good base. They can transfer over to AI, but Eaton and his AI, I saw a little bit of it on the day before, and it looked pretty powerful. But we'll see how it goes.
I am very curious. You see, Eaton he's a few matches down the road. I'm curious to see Rage Alerts. Rage Alert's always so good at these things.
Rage Alert, I love his base designs. They're so out of the box, yet
They are. They're
work
exciting.
good. They work well, you know.
They're always so exciting. Win, lose, or draw. I love watching him participate.
Rage Alert actually started pretty late making his AI, so I wouldn't expect very much of it this time, but I can guarantee you that we will see some shenanigans from another player.
All right. Well, looks like we are good to start here.
Are you ready?
Let's do this.
Okay.
So, here on the left-hand side, You have Team 1. Going out with 2 different technologies. This is actually an interesting start. We see here the armory tech, which is a technology a lot of players have shied away from. I think mostly because rockets are just extremely vulnerable to snipers, and considering there's so many snipers in these AI tournaments, or these AI players, that it's not
Everything is on fire!
not too consistent to have them around.
5 for your round 1 win. Sniper and
I would
tiny
partially
doors
agree with that
FTW.
assessment. For EMP rushes, yeah, the EMPs don't survive. They get immediately shot. The EMP their own doors
Everything
open and
is
just
on
get
fire!
shredded by snipers. But when you have
Best YouTube
upgraded
on the
rockets,
planet.
they can take 2 snipes. And as well, the 2 rockets that they fire can tank a couple of the sniper shots. And so, rockets are actually pretty good at handling snipers. You can see he already put down the upgrade center, which means he's just going to upgrade straight from EMPs to rockets before even firing.
I hope that he is sufficiently planned to enforce that, because the AI will attempt to fire if it has the opportunity to.
Got a ton of mortars from Team 2 and only 1 MG from Team 1. That might hurt.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that looks dangerous. That looks real dangerous.
That really high wall on that MG is going to make it so it can only shoot a couple of the mortars before it loses angle.
It's still only 1 MG, and with the rate of fire the AI can put out with even a single mortar, the mortars will just overwhelm the point defense. Like, it doesn't really matter what kind of point defense you have. The consistency with the fire rate, MGs always get overwhelmed. You need a frankly silly amount of MGs to defend against mortars in this. You know, assuming that you're...
I was just gonna also point out that I think MG's got a recent little debuff where they overheat much faster. That I don't think exists in the first AI tournament. I think the first AI tournament, MGs could fire 3 volleys, but now they can only fire 2 immediate volleys before overheating. You can see one's already both have overheated, so they can't fire at all, and that front base is just getting grinded by all those incendiary mortars.
Yes, and that's I think going to be the direction that this game is going to go. It's just going to be two MGs trying and failing to defend against the mortars, and then the mortars continuing to grow and just pummel Team 1 into the oblivion. You can even see the only thing that would stop Team 2 from coming out on top here is a lack of turbines, and he's not even close to running out of energy. So I think this is just going to be super one-sided, and it might take a moment, but that'll be the end.
Yeah, those upgraded rockets are about to hit, and Team 2 has no forward MGs, and so that's going to drain the metal immediately on Team 2, which is going to slow down their upgrades.
Yes, and that will slow down the upgrades, but those 2 rockets, I don't think that's going to be enough. You need at least 3 rockets to really start the stun lock. Just 2 rockets, it'll slow down the opponent, but it won't stop the opponent. And those mortars are getting real damage done.
They hit right on the doors on the rockets too, and if Team 2 had some snipers, they could have actually sniped those rockets, but looks like Team 2 just wants to tank.
I mean, I don't blame him. Like, why do you need to worry about harassing your opponent when you could just blow them up with mortars? The moment you expose snipers, the moment you expose doors or really anything, is the moment you open yourself up to vulnerability. The chance that you have to spend a lot of extra metal repairing it. Whereas, just build wood. The AI's got the APM, as long as it has the resources, which it will basically always have, in so much as it never exposes anything that's expensive. It'll just keep rebuilding it. You think wood spam off of a player is dangerous? Wait till you see an AI do it.
The heavy mortars are landing, and it's hurting.
Yeah.
Front base might not survive. Those rockets are getting beat up. That door, that's a heavy repair cost. You can see Team 1, player 1 in the observer. He's out of metal.
He's out of metal entirely.
Stuck.
Can't even repair, and that's going to be it.
Going down.
That's 1 fort eliminated, and with it, about half of the anti-air. I think we're about to see the destruction of Team 1's AI here.
That's a lot of mortars coming in. If it just lands once and takes out all those MGs, that could really do a lot.
Oh, it's inevitable. It is absolutely inevitable. The only chance Team 1 has here is landing that nuke in a critical spot, like drunk nuke style. I doubt he's gonna make it far enough. I doubt he's gonna make it far enough to actually have that happen. But it is a hope, and it is exciting.
Well, one thing that can happen, if those double nukes, if RNG is, if those nukes are blessed, they could hit on the top of the core and do enough AoE damage to take out one of them.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I'm super excited to see. I just don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think he's gonna survive long enough. Especially now that those two gunners... Mortars dig through wood very quickly.
That is a lot of that's a lot of mortars. It's just the sky is just full of black.
He has an
I think
opportunity
this
to
is the
fire.
end.
Oh, yep. There we go.
GG.
With that, Rage Alert moves on.
It's a pretty solid strategy, just tanking and just filling the sky with mortars.
Absolutely. That's, I think, the same kind of idea I was going for myself in my AI. You'll notice that my Team 2 base, it doesn't really do much but tank for a while. And then it throws out mortars. Now, of course, Rage Alert's AI a little bit more swift about it. And I think it's definitely the superior model.
One thing I did see about your AI, it didn't have quite enough MGs, I don't think, to handle that amount of mortars that early on.
Oh, yeah, no, not at all. It's going to be, I do not suspect, I'm fairly certain I'm not going to pass Rage Alert here, as he is my next opponent.
So who's the next contestants?
Next contestants will be Samster and Lively Engineer.
I'm interested in what Samster has prepared. He hasn't competed in any of the other AI tournaments.
I believe you were correct with that one.
I'm excited to see what he thought up.
All right, ready to go when you are. Let's do this. And we're off. So here on the left-hand side, we have Samster Birdies coming in with his AI. And on the right-hand side, we have Lively Engineer. I haven't seen Lively Engineer participate in quite some time. Curious to see what he's come up with. Curious to see what both of these players have come up with. Hello there, Osprey, coming in with the support. Thank you so much.
I'm looking at that weird sandbag on second top on team 1. Not quite sure its purpose because it has that little wood in front of it.
Yeah, I mean, sandbags themselves don't draw attention, but maybe to
Exposed
stop
machine gunners.
Yeah, either machine gunners or maybe to stop AP sniping across his core when he removes the metal around it. Not sure. I suppose we'll find out, I hope. Mortars. It's meant to keep mortars safe. AP snipers will shoot through wood as if it's not there, but with the sandbag in front, it'll hit the sandbag and it'll keep the mortars safe. That's what it's for. Same kind of scenario you see here with the team, with the first section of the base, lower base.
Yeah, I could see that, but the thing with sandbags, they're so wide, you can actually just put enough wood there just to protect from the AP sniper, just by putting 4 struts of wood.
Oh yeah, of course. It's just much cheaper.
That's true.
And free to repair. And instantly rebuilds.
There's kind of something funny about AIs. If they face a minigun rush and they have sandbag spam, they will replace the sandbag so quickly that they'll just use up all their energy immediately
in one volley.
Stun locked. Yeah.
It is quite funny because AI, for those who don't know, are so fast that they can replace their lost items the same tick that it gets destroyed, as in a bullet or a projectile hits a sandbag, for example. that sandbag will not unrender because it gets destroyed and replaced at the same time. So if you have something like a minigun, which shoots many projectiles in a single volley all at the same time, every projectile will hit the sandbag and destroy it, and it will be replaced as it is hit. So it makes for a real rough time for AI sometimes. This is actually
rather interesting. I just want to point out one thing. On the sandbags on the bottom base from Team 1, they're actually distracting the sniper because even though the machine gunners behind him can't even fire, the sniper thinks it can, and so it keeps on shooting the sandbag, which is distracting it from the exposed machine gunners on top base.
Warning.
Or
Nuclear
at least
launch
seems to
detected.
partially distract.
Well, I mean distracted as in when it randomly chooses which MG to shoot, there's a high chance it shoots the sandbag instead.
That is actually a very interesting strategy. You could actually have exposed
Did I
gunners
miss
here.
anything?
Which exposed gunners is very powerful, but against AI players, very dangerous. For example, you see here on Team 2, despite having just landed an EMP, it's soft locked. It is building exposed minigun or machine guns in line of sight of an active sniper out of Team 1. So Team 1's just it keeps shooting them. It keeps shooting all the machine gunners away. It causes them to have to rebuild it, and as you can see, it can't even afford to rebuild those machine gunners because it has spent so much money on destroyed gunners that it is now unable to do anything. So Team 2 is basically down to a single base and the occasional firing of an EMP, which is not a great place to be. Of course, Team 2's lower fort is building swarm missiles, which have the potential to get some damage down and perhaps come to the rescue of their upper fort. But that's going to be a real tough spot to be in, especially because, oh look, Team 1 is building swarm missiles as well.
Something else to point out, the EMPs, the doors are so large that when they get hit by just a single heavy mortar, that AI just runs out of metal immediately. Because
Yes.
it tries to repair. There's a threshold of how much damage before it starts repairing again, and so it's always trying to repair, which means constantly hitting those large doors on that EMP just means it's constantly starved for metal.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's one of the reasons why I ended up going with small doors for my... Oh! And that right there is the perfect example why EMPs are not a very common weapon here in these AI tournaments. It opened the door and just got instantly sniped.
Plenty of MGs from Team 1 to handle those swarms sufficiently. Not
Oh, yeah.
entirely, but sufficiently.
Yeah, that's I do not see Team 2 coming out of this alive. This is Samster's game to win.
Yep, top base from Team 2 is completely out of metal and just is slowly dying.
We'll see, how long do they survive, or should I say, how long does it take Samster's AI to finish out the match?
Rather interesting how Lively Engineer, for his bottom base, he puts so many batteries before upgrading to nukes. Usually you want to put the batteries after you upgrade.
I actually don't blame him for that one. There is a pretty strong argument for putting the batteries first, and the reason for that is the AI tends to require an extra buffer of energy, an extra buffer of really anything, in order to not soft lock itself.
I can understand that, but to upgrade to nukes is a lot cheaper than it is to fire the nukes.
And I think putting down 3 extra batteries is a little bit overboard. Definitely overkill. So I question why he did 3 batteries, but I could understand like 2.
Yeah, I can understand 2 as well. You can see that if you look at the observer tools, it's floating 11,000 energy.
Right.
Yet it doesn't have enough metal to even upgrade the nukes.
Right. Oh, I just realized Team 2's top base is rebuilding the EMP next. So it just keeps placing the EMP and it gets shot, causing another EMP on its own base. Fortunately, it's going to be put out of its misery very soon here, as both bases are completely out of metal for Team 2. They
Those
can't
two
even
mortars landing
repair.
right on the core. That's gonna hurt.
Welcome to mortars used by the AI. Team 1 is finally upgraded to the nukes, so that's going to close out the game real quick.
Can I just say that Samster's bottom base looks a lot like something B-Man would build for his AIs?
I don't know.
Looks familiar, just saying.
I think it's just because it hasn't changed away too much from the vanilla shape. It's basically kept the vanilla shape intact because it hasn't really built much out of it. B-Man bases tend to be, I'm going to say, over-engineered. They have a lot of very synergist-style buildings with MG pits and perfectly sized boxes to fit whatever item is supposed to be in it.
I could see that. I also see a factory coming from Samster's top base. That's an expansion for a later game.
That is, and that's an expensive expansion too. Very difficult to pull off. Remember that the AI keeps firing at all times and never stops firing. So having the energy and or a metal to put down a heavy weapon is a very real concern. Considering Samster only has two turbines on that base, it really doesn't have the energy production to ever build a heavy weapon. So I think it's going to be a very long time before he even has a hope of building a heavy weapon on there.
Top base from Lively is about to go. That core is smoking, and those two mortars
I think that's going to be
right
it.
in.
Oh, it survives. Oh, the bottom base, however, almost got taken out by that swarm missile launch. A rare occurrence, death by swarm.
Hey, it's one of the mission training where you take out a vanilla base using just swarms.
That is true. It is possible. It's just rare. And oh, the satisfying convergence of those mortars every time makes me happy. Every single time.
Yeah, I do not see any way for victory from Lively Engineer in this situation.
Yeah, I haven't seen a chance of victory for Lively Engineer since like the 3-minute mark. It's just he's just also not dying. Ah, finally, an extra turbine out of Samster's top base. Maybe that'll be enough to have it actually fire the nuke.
Wait, do you see what I see? Do you see that fire beam under the core from Samster? He did get down a heavy weapon. Well, a medium heavy weapon.
Yeah, the cheapest possible one. But he did get it down. And I think with the turbine upgrades, he may actually be able to fire it.
And the fire beam is great for suppression on an AI because the AI, it really struggles to, like, I don't know what I was going to say with that statement. There goes the core.
That's a one down.
Miniguns.
Death by minigun. Always satisfying, but a very rare occurrence.
His upgrade center is getting shot, bottom base, by miniguns. He has to repair the upgrade center.
Did it get hit
Repair
by it?
technology is a very bad idea. Yeah, you can see the miniguns are going through the base and hitting the upgrade center.
I noticed they were hitting the wood, but yeah, a couple went through and ooh.
GG.
Game over. Samster with the victory moves on.
And the fire beam completes. Just not in time.
Very good. Alright, so next up we have Bowser versus Remy. Bowser, well-known ranked player.
A very good ranked player at that. I just want to point out Samster's exposed machine gunners. Usually that's a horrible idea with AI, but he handled it really well, it seemed. Because
He really did.
something with his sandbags and allowed him to place machine gunners and the snipers. I'm kind of impressed because I would assume the moment I see exposed machine gunners like that, I just like, that base is going to get stun locked and that's it.
Yeah, I usually just
So that-
write it off as a base that has no chance of surviving, but Samster with his I guess, just mixing exposed machine gunners with enclosed fake machine gunners, if you would, the ones that pull aggro, really was able to pull it off. Because the exposed ones weren't safe, but the amount of time that they were actually hit wasn't enough to make the difference.
It was not stun locking, it was insufficient metal drain.
Exactly.
Are we ready to start the next match?
Absolutely.
I must say, setting up AI matches is way simpler than trying to like get players to join and you just start the match and they're all there.
Oh yes, it is so much nicer to not have to do the cat herding as we like to call it. So on Team 1 left-hand side, we have the AI by Bowser. I'm interested to see how this works out because Bowser is a very good player. There's a lot of insights into the game. And on the right-hand side, we have Remy. I haven't really seen how he plays much. So this is going to be an interesting... That's, in any normal match, that's 2 box wide. I don't know how to take that. Team 2's bottom base it has some interesting strut layout. I'll put it that way.
It's become kind of a popular, how should I say, like reinforcement technique to build those 4.12 long struts just because they're so strong.
Indeed.
Not very compact. You can't really put much in your base, but it will prevent all wobble whatsoever.
Yes, and that's something I do like doing when I have an opportunity, but not like an opportunity for extra, but not as a replacement for base structure.
It's interesting, and I think the reason why he's doing that though is because he doesn't intend to put anything in that base. It's just gonna tank. It doesn't have any plans for like weapons. It just he doesn't need that. He doesn't need storage or tech. It's just gonna be his mines and that turbine.
That could be it. But without weapons or really anything, he's got to have something in there.
Well, I can see top base with that munitions plant. It's probably going to be the main damage output.
Indeed, and he's going very quick with it. That is a full-on, greedy, fastest possible rush build, it looks like. Which is going to be exciting. We're going to have a pre-cannon, a clock cannon.
Yeah, the ultra hard AI rushing is like how you get perfect timing.
Makes for some rather interesting different builds here. Team 1 going with the swarm missile and machine gunners. We have seen something very similar before.
That's an interesting machine gunner setup with like that little bottom machine gunner below the top machine gunner.
Yeah.
I wonder if one gets hit by a mortar, the other one can still fire. It's a little confusing, but
I would
could
think
see
so.
some potential.
Because this bottom gunner here is blocked off and can't actually fire, but if the top gunner explodes for some reason. Yeah, so that it does indeed look like the bottom base is just going to be a giant shield wall, and that does explain the 4.12s, the really long struts here. The long struts are very, very good for holding weight. Not good for anything else but holding weight, but very good for holding weight. And he's just going to be building himself a lot of weight, is what he's doing. So this forward base is just going to build tall. It's going to defend itself from everything, and oh my. Oh, he's going with the pseudo tier 3. The pseudo tier 3 howitzer, which really isn't a requirement with howitzers, because howitzers can already basically just shoot straight up without needing to tier 3 them.
I imagine though, what he wants to do is force the AI to only fire higher at a higher angle instead of firing straight at the target, because the AI, when it uses a howitzer, really likes to fire the
directly,
shortest trajectory
yes.
possible. And so I imagine slanting the howitzer like that will make it so it arcs them really high, and we'll see what that does for him.
Yeah, I am curious. This is certainly an interesting win, lose, or draw. Remy here has shown us a strategy that I love to see. Now, I do have some concerns about its I'm gonna say I have some concerns about its damage output. This takes up a significant portion of the base, there's really not much room left to put other weapons. So the damage output of this rear base is going to be minimal at best. And considering this bottom base out of Team 2 is less than aggressive, I really question Team 2's ability to perform, to do any real damage here.
We're talking about Team 2, but it appears Team 1's bottom player has completely stun-locked itself. Its build order has messed up, and it's not doing anything.
Oh, has it?
It's floating all of its metal, all of its energy.
You are correct.
Maybe that was the end of its build. Maybe all it was designed to do is build machine gunners and tank. Be kind of the aggro. Kind of like what we see from Remy.
That could very well be the case, because remember, Team 1 at the beginning, it did have some snipers, it did have some aggression, and then it sold it all off and redesigned itself to be basically this shield wall, which is...
Howie incoming.
Yep, and it's likely going to get shot down. Yeah. Kronk, I forgot to mention this. Did you ever re-enable the 15-minute time limit?
Oh, yeah.
Announced it.
Yep, I enabled it. You can see 9 minutes remaining.
You were correct. You were correct. Down here at the middle, 9 minutes remaining. Okay, good, because this is going to be a long one. This is absolutely going to be a long one. With
I don't see any player really capable of striking a deadly blow.
Yes. Despite Team 1 having 2 nukes, that's 2 nukes I doubt is going to be able to break through this absolute monster, this absolute unit of a base that is Team 2's bottom fort. And with only 1 howitzer out of Team 2, like, come on, you're not getting through 6 machine gunners.
It looks like that. The problem is the AIs. They all build in thinking mortars are gonna come, and so when the howitzer comes, there's just too much anti-air.
Yes, howitzer is not nearly as threatening as what was it, like 9 mortars out of the previous opponent.
That was pretty terrifying, I have to say.
Yeah,
my nightmares.
That one can go far, I think, in this tournament. That one's a candidate for our grand tournament champion.
The AI has yet to group fire its nukes, and so it's just lightly pummeling the tank, the absolute chunk base in the front, which has upgraded all of its mines, put down 3 metal storages. It's gonna just be floating all of its metal, so the moment it gets hit, it can just immediately replace everything.
Oh yeah, the chunky base is not playing around. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's gonna have all the material in the world to save itself. It is a little bit low on energy, but I don't think that's going to be too big of a concern, considering it doesn't have weapons. It does have the very real possibility of collapsing itself.
Yeah, that is a possibility. With that base swinging like that, all that mass, it might topple forward.
Indeed. That would be a really exciting way for it to go down. Just a little bit of recoil wobbling it back and forth. It does have internal bracing all over the place, so this is a very strong build. It could actually get another layer of internal bracing there. Let's see. Team 2's top base, or Team 1's top base, left-hand side, looks like it's getting enough energy to really start firing those nukes off, which is good for Team 1 here. And also, it's just finishing up its munitions plant, so it's got to come out with a cannon. Cannon, of course, not going to do much to the absolute unit of a base that's over on Team 2. But it is
Unless you get lucky.
a start. Unless you get
could
lucky.
imagine if the cannon fired right before the nuke hit, the nuke could get a much farther, go much more into the base and cause a lot of AoE.
It could. It is possible, and that is, I think, the only hope of this not going to time limit.
It looks like, though, inevitably that howitzer never going to make it through, and so this is just going to be who does more damage.
Right.
And I think we know who's going to do more damage.
The one who actually has weapons to fire.
Wait, that howitzer's going to land. What was I talking about?
It actually landed. That's... Well, I mean... So the only chance it has of landing is if it never crosses into the line of sight of those gunners. And if it doesn't cross into the line of sight of those gunners, then it could only splash into the front section of the bottom base here. And that's not going to have it deal much damage at all. And certainly nothing compared to the multiple nukes and soon-to-be cannon out of Team 1. Like, maybe the hope is that the howitzer penetrates enough to touch the core out of Team 1.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could see. A little bit of core damage if it goes right below that stack and hits the, like, that unused door on bottom base.
Right.
That might reach the core with AoE.
And it might deal enough to scratch it. And remember, guys, in the case of a timeout, rather than the destruction of the forts, the victory condition is determined by how much damage has been dealt, specifically core damage. And in the case of the cores being tied for the same amount of damage, then it goes down to overall structure damage to the forts. So regardless of whoever's the aggressor or defender, whoever has the most core health remaining at the end of the match will win when the timer hits 0. And at this point, I don't have any reasonable expectation that any amount of core damage will happen at any points during this match. But there is very technically a chance for this howitzer to penetrate this forward fort and just get the lightest of scratches on this forward core.
It can happen.
It could happen. It is not impossible, and that I think is our best case for this match not going to, or rather, I think that is Team 2's best chance of victory, and perhaps only chance of victory at this point, because otherwise they have absolutely no chance ever of destroying Team 1's forts. Yeah, that's not even coming close.
You know, something would be interesting if Remy could have Team 2. He built more snipers. He could have door sniped that cannon, because you can see each time that cannon's firing, it's getting shot by a sniper. So if he had 2 other snipers, that cannon could have gotten door sniped, and that would cause core damage.
I'm not sure.
Oh wait,
if
you said got shot twice. The cannon got shot twice. If he had 1 more sniper, that would have caused core damage.
I'm not sure if that cannon is close enough to cause core damage in the explosion.
Cannons have
Nuclear launch
very
detected.
large.
Indeed,
You know,
they do.
it might be a little bit of a stretch of its AoE capabilities. I always feel like cannons are always damaging my core, though. You know what I mean?
yeah, I know that feel. I know that feel all too well.
Hello Incursus, how are you today? Looking forward to all the explosions.
It would have been interesting to see some buzzsaws
Also, what
from
are you
either
drinking?
team.
Hello there, Dark Knight, coming in with the nuclear launch. Thank you. Yes, I am enjoying this
That
very,
cannon
very
just
well.
took out that
AI
sniper
tournament.
from the pinnacle, the
So
spire.
much fun. What am I drinking? I have acai juice. It's quite good. Yeah, I mean it's a little bit of overkill, but what else are you gonna target? Like the cannon, it doesn't have the option to meaningfully deal damage anywhere else. So like, why not just take out the cannon or take out the sniper and everything next to it? Why is the cannon not firing? There we go.
Whoa, that
Ooh,
was interesting.
that was very interesting. I don't know why the AI waited so long to fire that, but it did. And it collided at about the same time as the nuke landed. Of course, not even coming anywhere near penetrating that absolute unit of a wood spam, but...
If that could happen to the lower part of the base, though, instead of that machine gunner pit, that's what would deal critical core damage.
Or any core damage, just a scratch. But absolutely. We have another cannon shell coming out. No, okay. AI changed its
6
mind.
MGs. Too powerful.
It's always interesting because the AI actually uses these specific machine gunners a little bit differently, the ultra hard AI. It basically just unrelentlessly fires, or shall we say relentlessly fires. It doesn't have any kind of extra time waiting between bursts. It just full on mag dumps toward anything coming at them.
No, it hits the same spot. It's almost as if Bowser put that tower on purpose to protect the core from that shot.
Yeah, what I suspect is happening is the howitzer is aiming specifically at the core, and so that angle is just never going to happen. If it were to aim somewhere else,
aim a little lower.
It would have to aim lower. Up, there goes the sniper again.
It's kind of interesting how Bowser has his AI build a second cannon after the 15-minute mark. Not sure the point of that. Oh.
Very likely just wasn't optimized enough. But Team 1 with a victory, dealing 109,000 damage. Woo! That's quite impressive. But Bowser moves on to face Samster in the next round.
Yeah, something about Bowser's design though. Front base really was not up to its potential. It's just sitting there with 6 machine gunners that entire match. Really feel like it could have been helping out a little bit.
I think so. I probably should have at least tried to do something. Maybe get a heavy weapon and a cannon like way in the back somewhere. Perhaps.
What I could also imagine is like just a couple miniguns to clear AA. Even though that could cause it. It's already stun locked. What am I saying? Like,
it's stun locked itself
something.
by virtue of not wanting to build anything.
maybe Bowser did that on purpose. Maybe it got itself stuck when it couldn't build a tiny strut or something. The AI is so picky.
We may never know, unless we ask them, of course. I think that was purposeful, though, I suspect. Alright, ready when you are.
Okay.
Well, some people did once again write their AI philosophy about things about their AI. So perhaps you could check one of those out.
Indeed, we did have... I know we did this, we've done this every time, but it's I feel bad because I haven't been reading them out. Because we asked all the competitors to actually write a bit of a snippet for each of their AI, and we haven't been reading them out. So I think I'm gonna do that here. But first, here on the right-hand side, we have Eaton. Eaton, good player, well known in the community. Very curious to see what he's come up with. And here on the left side, we have Taichu. Taichu, I could expect some different builds from, though his does seem fairly standard-ish. He's got technology, he's got turbines in the rear, more technology down. Going with the armory. Interesting decision.
Doesn't look like he's made rocket spots for the armory though, so I don't know what he plans to do with that armory.
I'm not sure. His snippet about his own AI, Taichu, his snippet says mortars. Lots of mortars. So I imagine the armory is more so for defense, perhaps shotguns, maybe flak. Just to
Flak are
mix it up.
troublesome because they get sniped instantly in a match like this. They will not survive.
Well, they don't have to be exposed to snipers if they're just going to be used for anti-air.
That's true. But it would only be able to protect top base, not itself. You can see some... Looks like it could be some rockets coming from top base for Eaton. Some upgraded rockets.
Would you like to know what the snippet for Eaton's AI is?
Yeah, sure.
The snippet is very simple. One AI shoots, the other AI shoots.
You know what? It's kind of interesting, but not all AIs have been shooting in this tournament, so...
that is fair. We have seen AIs that don't have weapons. Oh, that's funny. But yes, it looks like we're going to have a bit more of an aggressive play out of Eaton here. He's got double nukes set up. He didn't set them. He did. He built them in a way such that they will not fire swarms until they are nuke options, and he does have anti-air. He's got MG pits there. The rockets, same kind of scenario. They won't fire until they are fully leveled up.
Yeah, front base has no wide wood spam, and those rockets and nukes are going to take it out if it doesn't get some way to counteract the
Yeah, and this
The
is
missiles.
this is very fast. The rockets hit before the 3-minute mark, and those nukes are gonna hit. Is he saving up money? Oh, he is saving up energy because he doesn't have it. He's not building and he's not spending his energy on much of anything. So that's those nukes are gonna fire in almost near simultaneously. It's gonna be quick succession in there. That's gonna be a very dead base. Team 1's hope right now is that those nukes fire at top base, where the bottom base's machine guns can look up and make any attempt at defending itself. I doubt that's going to happen.
Something that I've seen a couple times is the mortars are distracting front base's AA, and it's been shooting down the rockets from Team 2, from the top base. Kind
That
of
it
being
has.
an AA. And so it could do the same for the nukes, which would be quite painful.
That is another option. It is technically possible for those nukes to get hit, get drunk, and then turn around and slam into his own core. But oh, those rockets are so brutal. So many AIs
yeah.
just don't build to deal with rockets outside of snipers.
And when you have those eco-drain rockets, you can see the 2 players from Team 1 are just out of metal.
They are. But the mortars
Here
are
comes
back.
the nuke.
First nuke makes it. And it slams. That's going to send Team 1's first base into a death spiral. It is out of money, and it is taking more hits. But that's a lot of mortars at Team 2. At Team 1's top base, that is a lot of mortars. Once he gets those turbines up and running to be able to fire them, that'll shut down basically any anti-air by virtue of completely overwhelming it.
Yeah, front base from Taichu has been pretty suppressed at the moment. Can't really do much. Just kind of being a AA for top base, which is a use.
Yeah, it is being useful, even if its use is mostly just taking damage. It looks like shotguns has been added for anti-sandbag and general anti-exposed things. Haven't seen shotguns used.
Top base is having to reconstruct those sniper tiny doors, getting taken out by the mortars.
Yeah, that is quite expensive and potentially dangerous, dealing with tiny doors. But the AIs, they tend to confuse the AI quite strongly. Is Team 1... Team 1 actually appears to be out of metal. That's why it's not firing.
That's the one that's repairing. That's the one that's getting shot all the time.
You are correct. I misspoke. So I was wondering why Team 1's top base just wasn't firing its mortars. Perhaps it was just...
Well, it placed down the upgrade center, which really starved for energy for a little bit, I think.
It had energy and it just wasn't firing. I'm not sure. We may never understand. Who needs AA to defend against rockets when you could just build mortars? That's something I understand.
That nuke is consistently getting shot down by the machine gunners. It's rather unfortunate for Eaton.
Mortars, the hardest counter to nukes.
And it looks like the front base has finally gotten a door for its flak.
It's
a very large slanted door at that.
It's
That's
about
kinda
time.
Expensive to repair though.
It is. And it's in the spot most likely. Oh, the nuke threads the needle. Core damage has been dealt. Oh, that's...
Followed by rockets and a shotgun.
Ooh.
That base is not looking healthy.
It is not looking healthy, and that's going to be repairing itself for probably the rest of its life. It's short life. Ooh, that's a rough spot to be in. Remember,
It looks like top base from Taichu is actually struggling because it doesn't have enough batteries. It can't put down.
batteries.
I'm a little confused.
Yeah, it has 900 metal and 5,000 energy, but it's not firing its mortars, nor is it...
It's not building more. That's the confusing part.
Yeah.
Maybe its build just ended. Maybe that's... It looks like there's more spots for more mortars, though.
Yeah,
so.
I don't... maybe it just bugged out. That something has broken. It's rebuilding. Slowly, very slowly. But it isn't actually expanding itself, which is an interesting decision.
It just might be the ultra hard AI being the ultra hard AI and not wanting to build because it didn't feel like it.
That is what I suspect happened. It can absolutely support more mortars than that. It hasn't upgraded any mortars, it hasn't upgraded anything, but it does have an upgrade center. So that screams that his AI has unfortunately broken, and I think maybe the difference between winning and losing here. Because, well, despite having nukes, Team 2 is not handling the mortars very well, and if it were to have any additional pressure, I think Team 2 would just explode.
Yep, there goes the flak. It took so long to finally get it to have those two huge metal doors. The moment it opens them, it gets sniped.
Indeed. I wonder... Eaton's bottom fort AI. I don't know if it's broken or just has never intended to expand beyond that. It's got 2 warheads, or 2 nukes, and only 1 turbine. And
I can
Eaton...
explain it a little bit because this is the one AI I saw before the tournament, and he told me if you look at the machine gunner pit in front of the core, you notice that one strut missing on the top of that little box in front of that machine gunner.
Top of the little
Do you
box?
see what I'm
Yes,
pointing out?
yes, I see it.
There's supposed to be a sandbag there,
So
and
it
it can't
has...
put the sandbag there.
Yep. So it just broke, it bugged out, and it's never going to continue building. That's really unfortunate.
Yep. Sandbags are dangerous. Sandbags on tiny struts, especially dangerous.
Yes. I noticed that as well. I had to deal with that on my own AI, except when I was writing it, I spent like 30... So my AI, for reference, it doesn't stop building. Like, there's a 15-minute time limit, but it just keeps going, and I wanted to make sure it just kept going so that it always had something to do and never not had something to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But when you're writing enough commands for it to do for more than 15 minutes in the perfect scenario, it turns into like a 45-minute recording process, and that's a long time. And I found out at the end of that, during some testing of its
There's
later
actually
game.
a method to add on top of a build.
Oh yeah, no, I
actually-
absolutely opened up the, I absolutely went through all that. But to change, I encountered an issue where I had a sandbag on a tiny strut, and it literally would just break the build. Like, at the 12-minute mark, everything just stopped working, and it was really bad. I'm like, oh gosh, no. Oh, that's really bad.
Yeah. Had you already submitted it when you found that?
No, but I didn't have, at that time, by the time I found it, I didn't exactly have time to re-record. So I just kind of removed a chunk of those commands and just let it go. It was not perfect, but it's the best I was gonna get.
Looks like Eaton's main problem is his AA is shooting down all of his own weapons.
Indeed. That is a major concern. That's a dangerous concern, considering that there are nukes there. Nukes, they can get drunk, and drunk nukes don't much care about friendly fire.
Yeah, I could imagine a drunk nuke slamming onto the top of Eaton's front base.
Just ending his own core. That is a very real concern. Like, I don't know how to stress that enough. It is a very real concern. But hey, Eaton's second base, his top base, is extremely well put together. It's struggling for metal production. It's actually limited, I think, on its weapons by metal production over anything else. It's just firing so many weapons it can't keep up with it. You know,
Well, that's the thing
it's
with
also suffering
the-
energy. But
the
it,
ultra hard AI doesn't stop shooting and building. It doesn't both at the same time.
Mhm.
While a human tends to save up to fire. The AI, it just is always building more batteries and turbines, even if it doesn't have enough energy or metal to fire its own weapons.
Mhm. So I think
So, yeah.
Eaton here will eventually win by virtue of being able to scale later into the game, and eventually just basically outpace Team 1. I think is the way to say it. As Team 1's base, bottom base, has been suffering for energy for so long, or suffering from metal for so long, it hasn't rebuilt its weapons. It's just trying, and it's not doing very well at that. And of course, with Team 1's top base, these mortars, whatever caused it to be stuck, is still stuck, so it will not continue to do more damage, and it's just not doing sufficient damage to stop Team 2 from expanding.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a sandbag on a tiny strut that stopped it all.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. For all we know, it could be. You notice here he's got 3 sandbags, Team 1's top base.
Yep.
Maybe there was supposed to be a 4th in there, right on top of that
drunk
tiny
nuke.
strut. Oh, drunk
was a
nuke
shock.
lands, chunking away so much of Team 1's base, exposing Team 1's top base, and it got absolutely destroyed by those rockets. Fortunately, Team 1's
So
top
many
base.
rockets.
Yes. Fortunately, Team 1's top base was storing up a lot of metal because it soft-locked itself. So we won't have to worry about it not having enough metal to rebuild. But alas, 50 seconds left in the match, and Team 1 has lost core health. So
Yep,
unless something
front base.
changes...
Got beat up by that nuke at the beginning.
It did. And unless something changes in the next few seconds, then we're going to see a victory out of Eaton here.
I have to admit, we should keep this in mind. Some incendiary mortars to make AA shoot its own nukes.
Very powerful strategy. I think Eaton's build here is actually quite good. I think he has a very good opportunity to go far in the tournament.
Yeah, he knows how to build really good bases.
Not only really good bases, but bases that the AI can work with.
Which
These
is
are...
the real secret. Yeah.
It is. Team 2 with the victory. Eaton moves
GG.
on. Yeah.
I think we've seen how impressive mass mortars can be. I think if Taichu's top base hadn't soft locked, that might have been a lot closer than it was.
I think if top base out of Team 1 hadn't soft locked, not only could it have been a lot closer, but I think Team 1 would actually have won that. Because
those incendiary mortars are landing.
they were absolutely landing and they were doing a huge amount of damage. And the only thing stopping Team 2 from dying was Team 1's lack of firepower. If Team 1 had expanded its firepower at any amount, Team 2 I don't think would have survived that.
And yeah, all the tiny struts on Eaton's base, one grouping of heavy mortars would deform so much that it would be almost impossible to rebuild.
Exactly, and that would absolutely have been the end, I believe. All right, let's
Are we
hop
ready?
into the next round. And we're off to the next round here. We have Freedom versus Scorin. Here on the left-hand side, it is Freedom. His AI starting off with 2 upgrade centers, so that likely means we're going to be seeing some AP snipers out of this. And on the right-hand side, we have an upgrade center and a workshop being built by Scorin's AI.
Something I could point out really quick, if you all were looking closely, you could see left base, both bases drop their metal and trying to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably because he did the average, like what a human would do is they would delete the top node and then they would delete the bottom node after the top node goes away. But the AI doesn't understand timing, so it deletes both nodes at the same time. And if you've tried to delete nodes in forts, you know that if you try to delete a node next to another one, it cancels the deleting instead of deleting all the struts. And so the front base just deleted and undeleted, therefore dropping some of that starting metal instead of selling it.
That is exactly right. And that's actually a fairly significant concern because at this point, it's very likely that the AI and the path that it's following is going to be different from what the player, the creator, Mr. Freedom, intended it to be.
It's
It now
already
has-
different. You can see that extra node in the front with that slanted metal,
Mhm.
that slanted forward. That's not supposed to be there. That was not in the original build.
Correct. So there's no, so that's asking for desync. But again, we still have 2 AP snipers placed. While I expect this fort will eventually soft lock itself in a way that'll be unrecoverable, that's still 2 AP snipers. And that's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous for Team 2. Team 2 hitting with the mortars, getting a sniper down, but this is soft lock city. AP snipers are very good, especially this early, at causing soft locks. Are those just was that an exposed sniper? Team 2
Yes.
has an exposed sniper in its lower base. Are you okay? Well, that's
I'm afraid that marks the stun lock of bottom base.
yes.
It's already metal starved. It can't buy anything other than snipers.
Yep. And it's just going to get shot over and over again. And this AI will repeatedly put the sniper back in that position only for it to be shot once more. Placed, and wait for it. A missed.
AP deviation. It annoys humans as well.
Yep. That happens sometimes. And now the snipers are distracted and not shooting at this. There it goes. Okay.
So the buzzsaw, the first time we see a buzzsaw from an AI actually, which could actually be really strong against some of the builds we've been seeing who've been just sold all their starting metal.
Mm-hmm.
One lucky buzzsaw, because the buzzsaws love aiming for the core, and so you can see that shot would be perfect if Ofredum had sold that metal. That base would be gone right now.
Absolutely. I'm actually curious. That buzzsaw has an opportunity to fix the base of Freedom here.
By dropping that front
By
metal?
dropping that
Yeah, I
front
can see
metal?
that.
It could absolutely do that, and then that could spell disaster for Team 2.
Indeed.
That would be funny.
Right
I
now,
want to see that
let's-
happen.
It's kind of been interesting because
Oh
all
no!
Ofred-
Team 2 built an exposed sniper on its top base.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It's kind of interesting though, because Ofredum had upgraded his snipers to AP, which have a 2 times the slow reload rate. It's actually not quite as costly as normal because the firing rate of the AP sniper is so much slower.
It
Like you
is.
can see, bottom base already has its sniper fully built.
That is correct. The AP sniper is not as good at stun locking exposed weapons as a standard sniper, but I mean, he's got 4 of them. Like, if they
Did
would
you see
just,
that? Or-
yeah, I
how
don't.
The sniper bounced some metal and almost hit the AP sniper from the back, the exposed sniper from bottom base. You
Yeah.
can see it's bouncing and hitting the technology on bottom base when it hitting the slanting metal.
Indeed, I saw that happening a lot when I was doing testing for my own AI. Not that I did enough testing, but just having this slanted metal from the top base, the regular snipers out of the opposing team can absolutely just shred everything in the rear of Team 1, including the core. If you exchange the core with background bracing, as many of these players tend to do, so they can get turbines in the back, they can actually be sniped. Just straight up sniped from the ricochet.
Which wasn't supposed to be there because the AI messed up deleting at the beginning.
Correct. So that's going to be interesting. I cannot believe these exposed snipers are still alive. Like,
Well, the AP snipers just can't maintain the map control as well as a normal sniper.
then that's all that's happening, and it's a problem. Team 2 is managing to, where once it was literally stun locked, the base has managed to recover. Just by virtue.
And there's no MGs from Ofredum, so those mortars are just landing consistently. Which has become rather painful for front base, who's been constantly losing his front mortars.
He's been constantly
His top
losing
mortars.
all of their mortars. He's had 6 mortars, and they've been constantly going down. I think it's eventually going to work out for Team 1 here. Just because RNG will have it that one of these mortars will complete, and then it will spiral from there.
Yep.
I think.
He's already upgrading them.
Yes.
And a recent update has made it so that MGs no longer shoot upgraded, actually do shoot upgraded mortars through doors. So right now Scorin does actually have anti-air to shoot down some mortars. We'll see if they do their job. I don't know if the ultra hard AI has adjusted for that.
It will try. I don't think the angle is good enough.
Nope. Looks like it's not. It can't protect the top base.
Yeah. It can protect itself, kind of, but not really.
That's gonna hurt the turbines.
Oh, yeah. Oh, with the energy shield down, those snipers gonna go ham on those turbines. They think, oh yeah, turbine, fresh meat. Focus that thing as they do every time.
The priority list for AIs, for some reason, turbines are just so high up on it. I guess because they're almost always a weak spot and like a human base.
Mm-hmm.
That the AI has been programmed to.
Oh, the heavy mortar hits. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, I see what you're looking at. That metal almost gave way and had a double kill.
That would have been a good way to go.
The AI is actually looking for exposed things to shoot, and turbines are almost always exposed because they need background bracing to have efficiency. So it will always shoot the turbines because they are exposed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
But
even
also, yeah.
even when there's multiple exposed things, like you've had exposed snipers this whole time. AP snipers consider things behind single doors to be exposed, and there's many things behind single doors. But maybe it's just anacetal, but it feels like the turbines get focused way more than anything else, even if they're just one out of the list.
Well, Scorn has kind of counteracted that effect by putting a sniper in front of the turbine, so therefore, no matter which one is targeted, the sniper still dies. So, in the end, it's a little bit of a lose-lose.
I think that's a great way to put it. Lose-lose. Either you lose the sniper and it gets rebuilt, or the turbine. Yeah, there's no. That's I feel bad for Scorin's AI here on Team 2. It's just it has too many exposed weapons. It can't rebuild anymore. They're out of money, and the mortars are starting to deal their damage.
And the AP snipers are finally taking out the mortars
They
from
are.
top base.
It's making a huge difference. With only one mortar left at a top base for Team 2, there's not a whole lot they can do left.
We talk about exposed, how because turbines are exposed, that's why they're highest priority. But I see that incendiary mortar is adamant on shooting that back turbine over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, because I've seen it shoot it multiple times. Mortars seem to really like shooting turbines.
It's weapons in general. It's like every time. Like it could shoot anywhere, but it doesn't. It decides to shoot the turbine more often than not. But hey, you know, whatever makes it happy, it's something we gotta live with. It makes these games a little bit more exciting. Or at least zany. One of the two.
It's kind of interesting. Front base from Ofredum, Team 1. His front mortar has slanted a little bit too far to the left. He can't actually build the middle mortar.
You're
A little
right.
bit of limited firepower.
I don't think that's the... I'm pretty certain these are soft locked at this point. Both of these bases out of Team 1. And I'm not
Yes.
sure if that's because of the forward brace or something else that happened. Probably because of the forward brace, given that there's a missing strut where it would normally be. Or the forward strut. But
Yeah, front base from Scorn has a nearly exposed core, just 2 braces, preventing it from getting blown up.
indeed, it did take some damage. So if the time expires in 4.5 minutes, then Team 1 will win. How much damage did it take? Let's see, reactor, it took 8% damage. So we are good. Things are going well for Team 1. Despite basically soft locking itself within a few seconds of starting the match, it seems like it is going to win this one. Team
Well, you
2
can see if you look at the metal and energy, Team 1 has just been floating everything, while Team 2 is struggling to pay.
just pay the basic
hanging
repair
below
bill.
100, yeah.
Indeed.
So Team 1 can just instantly replace everything that gets shot, can repair its doors, but Team 2 cannot do the same.
It can hardly even fire its weapons. Its mortars are sitting there trying to fire and just doesn't have the money for it. It's mostly
Something
because of that sniper.
I was gonna point out that Team 1 could have more efficient turbines, but it doesn't seem to be struggling for energy, so I don't think that's really important.
Yeah, of all the
'Cause if it-
problems Team 1's suffering, I don't think energy is the biggest one.
Yep. Those MGs are built just in time to save its buddy.
They really were. I'm curious if that might be enough to change the tide of war here.
Ooh, another core hit.
Another hefty hit onto the core. You know, those 2 MGs out of Team 1's bottom base might be enough to put Team 2 back in the lead here. Because those 2 MGs, they won't stop all the mortar hits, but they don't need to stop all of them. They just need to bring Team 2 out of the death spiral. They might just do that. It might just be enough.
I think the problem is bottom base is too busy replacing all the doored machine gunners that it's still struggling to afford. You can see it's still at 10 metal.
Mm-hmm.
Back base is doing better, finally getting like at least 100 metal, but it still looks pretty dire.
It does look very dire, but it is very technically, it has momentum upward and forward. It's able to progress its build order. It's able to bring out the buzzsaw again. Not that that's going to last very long. But look, the mortars out of Team 2 have started to grow, and they've actually beat down the mortars out of Team 1, and it is, I think, officially out of the death spiral, and that puts Team 1 in a rough spot because Team 1 will not grow. It is soft lock at a certain point. It will never grow beyond that point. And it's the point at which it does the most damage is at this time insufficient to destroy Team 2. So therefore Team 2 will inevitably win this match.
If it were to go on forever.
If it were to go
which
on
is not
forever.
the case.
Exactly. So there's a bit of a problem. Can Team 2 manage to deal enough damage? It has managed to turn the match around and put itself back on top, but can it catch up? Is the lead so great for Team 1 that Team 2 won't be able to catch up in the next 60 seconds before the time limit?
Well, I think what went wrong is, first of all, Score needed to get those roof MGs way sooner, because he had them way too late in his build where they were stun locked for more than like 3/4 of the match. And Backbase never upgraded to heavy mortars because of the said stun lock, and so it could never get any core damage. Like, Backbase is finally upgrading its mortars after not being stun locked, but it's gonna be too late by the time that it's gonna get like 1 volley in before the game ends, which could be enough. It could be 1 volley.
Very technically, but there's the volley, and
Nope, it's shooting down its own by its own MGs.
And I think that's going to be the end of that. 10 seconds left. Whoa!
That's the shot.
That was the
That's it.
shot it needed,
Yeah.
but it needed to land with more than 1 mortar.
Yep, it
Core
got it, it
damage,
got it.
core damage, a
It
few
got it.
seconds
Nope,
left.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough. Oh ho ho!
Ooh.
Oh, that
99
was
to 94.
so close. Team 2 would absolutely have had that. With, I think, even 60 more seconds, Team 2 would have come out on top. But alas, the time limit is reached. And Team 1 wins. Freedom moves on.
I got really close at the end. I did not suspect that. I thought it was going to be stun locked forever, but it appears having only AP snipers really meant that he struggled to maintain map control by killing the exposed snipers.
Indeed. That is actually one reason why I did not upgrade all of my snipers in my own AI to be the AP snipers. Because I realized that regular snipers, just the standard unupgraded ones, they're quite good. Then they have their use, and they are in many situations better than AP snipers.
Yeah, AP snipers have a very specific purpose, and snipers are superior in everything else.
Exactly.
No other weapon can get through 1 door, but a lot of snipers are definitely more accurate and fire much faster, so there's that for them. That's what's interesting about forts. Upgrades are not just direct, like, stat bonuses to a weapon, but they give it a different purpose, which could mean you might not want to upgrade at times.
That is exactly correct. And I think we're ready to move on to this next match. Laven versus Mateo.
Laven, a veteran of the AI tournament.
Indeed.
But he made the same mistake, dropping that starting medal.
No, that is how desync happens, unless he has specifically planned to drop that starting medal, which I find that statement very, very hard to believe. He may have incited some inevitable desync into himself. It's almost like everyone wrote these in a few hours last night, as opposed to spending the multiple months that they had to do so.
I know a few others put some soul into their AIs.
Oh dear. Alright, so on the left-hand side we have Laven, previous competitor of the AI Forts tournament. I'm looking forward to seeing some experience and more refined builds out of our Team 1 player. And on the right-hand side we have Mateo, coming in with an upgrade center with basically all the tech. He's coming in with a armory and upgrade center for his bottom base, and he's coming in with a workshop for his top base. Workshop placed in a way that's not really able to capitalize on any sort of missile placements. So we're not going to be seeing swarm missiles or nukes out of Team 2. But we may see some rockets out of Team 2's bottom base here. Maybe some EMPs. Maybe some rockets in the similar manner to Eaton here.
Back base going with the munitions plant from Mateo. That's interesting.
Very interesting. So we're not going to see mortars. It's a heavy weapons rush, and he's going with mines. So we're going to see a not theoretically fast as possible, but still quite fast heavy weapon rush.
I wonder if he's going to go Howies or cannon.
Maybe. I don't think so. But maybe. We have some snipers out of Team 2. Ooh. The heavy mortars are already out for Team 1.
That single machine gunner is not going to be able to hold off.
Nope. He can try, and he may delay the inevitable, but those heavy mortars will unavoidably dominate the field. He's got Team 2 desperately needs to return fire or have something to mitigate it, and I don't think that's going to happen.
The EMP with the tiny door has already gotten deformed, but it can't put PG, and the door's wobbling in front of the EMP.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's asking for a soft lock.
Cannon positions are prepared for when the tech completes. I imagine cannon positions because he doesn't have any storages for any other weapon.
Yep.
Oh, the EMP has already been sniped.
This is exactly why players have been avoiding EMPs and rocket-type weapons in the AI tournament. The EMPs, they get shut down so quickly. Even with this tiniest of doors, it opened for a small fraction of time and it instantly just got destroyed. And that is an expensive replacement. But hey, with 2 additional machine gunners out of Team 2, atop what I can only assume are cannon positions, we may actually see a successful defense from those mortars.
Neither base looks one-shottable by a cannon. It looks like Laven has been keeping all of his medals, so...
Yes.
Those bases don't look too delicate.
With only 3 mines, he's basically just put all of his metal in front and just kind of expecting that he won't have to repair it or rebuild it, that he's going to blow up his opponent without needing to regenerate himself in any way, which is a perfectly legitimate strategy. It's a very strong strategy. But cannons are very good at dealing with that case specifically. Because
I'll just say that the cannon has been placed down by Mateo, so it's going to complete.
It is going to complete, and that's going to spell disaster for Team 1, because there's no way to really stop cannon damage. The moment the cannon is fired, it's going to land. And it's going to land, it's going to deal damage, it's going to deal significant damage. And
core damage likely.
And barring any way to swiftly rebuild your base, which you cannot do with only a 3-mine economy, it's just going to be a rough experience for Team 1. And that's how Team 1 dies.
I will point out that Backbase has finally helped out with the MGs and have been holding off against the heavy mortars very effectively.
Oh, that's
Like you can. I love that little MG on the spire by Mateo. You
Yeah.
can see it's protected by the front from AP snipers and normal snipers. Yeah, it has an angle both up and down to handle rockets or mortars.
I was about to say, that is an interesting position. I've seen this used rarely, but I appreciate seeing it used here.
Yeah, I've never seen it on a standing base because that high up, anyways. Just
Right.
because you have to build so high before it has any sort of angle.
That's an interesting scenario, and I think now with those extra gunners from Team 2's top base, those mortars are just not gonna do much anymore.
The cannon is about to finish. If it hits bottom base, it will get some heavy core damage.
I
It
don't
won't get
think
any
it
if hits-
can. The angle on
Those
that.
tiny- Yeah, the tiny doors might be a little too tiny. It's aiming, but it's hesitating. It can't fire through the tiny door. It's struggling.
It should be able
AI's
to fire toward the top base. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say AIs have trouble with tiny doors because they choose an angle and then they see if they can fire. If they can't fire, they just give up. Now I'm done.
Oh, he's trying. Yeah, it looks like it fired at the turbine in the back. Oh.
It's got all the
Why?
right priorities, okay? That turbine was dangerous.
Ugh.
Game ending.
Every time with the turbines. Every time with the turbines.
Front base is getting shredded by those miniguns.
It really is. That's
If it loses one of those metal, that could cause a lot of structural damage.
it would likely collapse. It is so tall with only 3. Team 2's bottom base here is very tall, but only has three braces at the bottom, 3 foundation nodes, and those foundation nodes are not cross-braced. It desperately needs the help from its cannon ally up in the top position to make the difference here.
It shot through its own tiny door wood. You see it struggled because it tried to aim at the lowest possible angle, which meant it shot through the wood that is below its doors, and that decelerated the shot and meant it landed in the dirt.
That's something you don't see every day, but that is exactly what happened.
You have to have AI precision to be able to aim that close to the bottom of your doors to not hit the door, but hit the wood just from the arc of the cannon. So,
I think if that cannon decides to aim at the top base for team 1, then this is a very different story.
a door snipe on one of those miniguns would be some very heavy core damage.
It wouldn't even have to. Well, yes, it would be some very heavy core damage, but with just a minigun, it doesn't even have to door snipe. Just remember,
Well,
it could just slam into it and deal a huge amount of damage and start the death spiral.
yeah, eco-starve it a little bit. I was just saying, because the double doors stop the cannon, that the AoE probably couldn't touch the core from that distance.
Right, but if it door snipes, it'll go straight through the double door and slam into the core.
Yeah. I see a second cannon from Mateo that has bigger tiny doors, which would give it a much better angle shooting bottom.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to see that one come online. I fear that it's soft
It
locks.
looks like, yeah, it looks like it actually can't build the doors for its own cannon because it is stuck.
There's no more growth. It has been floating metal and energy for some time. I would think I don't.
The mortars are landing on front, and all it needs is to kill the core to make the game over. It doesn't need to kill both.
Indeed. I think the cannons were a good idea, and I think Team 2 would have won if it wasn't for a soft lock scenario.
The turbine. You gotta shoot that turbine, you know?
Yeah, it got the turbine again. Every time.
It has laser accuracy on that turbine. That's impressive. If I wanted to hit a turbine that badly, I'd still miss.
Oh, jeez. Well, it seems that we are going to have a victor here in the form of Team 1. It's still possible for Team 2 to win, but at this point, Team 2 is just kind of hoping for a lucky shot with this cannon. And so far, Team 1 has enough turbines to tank for days.
But all it needs is to scratch that core, and Team 1 does not look like it's going to land those mortars in a 2. Oh, there we go. That was
got
a
it.
shot.
Oh.
After getting rid of all visible turbines, it has finally decided to shoot the core.
That's going to put Team 2 in the lead. Team 2, I still think, is on the back foot from a momentum perspective. Battle for battle, I think Team 1 inevitably wins this, but you know, with that core damage, there's a very real opportunity for Team 2 to come back and to win on the timer.
To be honest, it looks like all these AIs have finished their builds. I don't see any more expansion from any of the AIs. So, and of course, bottom base by Mateo was just deformed into oblivion and they just gave up. Oh, core damage on
That's
the
more
other
core
core
damage.
now. I think this, after getting rid of all those turbines, now it's actually making some important shots.
Indeed. Yeah, and what I think is interesting is neither of these bases for Team 1 are rebuilding anything. I think they may have gotten soft-locked in some manner and are no longer rebuilding, which means that they won't be able to upkeep. Oh, that's brutal.
I think what's really been the cost, though, if you look at it, they all have miniguns and snipers, but only like one turbine. They might just be energy
Warning.
starving. Like top
Nuclear
base,
launch detected.
you can see he never gets above like 400 energy before he spends it all. Well, I say that, now he has it.
Well, I mean,
Maybe,
the Team 1's bottom base is the one that's starved for energy with the 3 minigunners and the 3 heavy mortars.
Need more turbines.
And the constant reduction of it, constant obliteration of its turbines. It's the top base, however, has no such issues, and is still not even repairing itself.
I think, seeing that none of the AIs are changing their strategy, I suspect the Mateo is going to be victorious.
I think so too.
Everything is on fire.
And not only victorious, you may
Hey,
actually get some
remember me?
actual
Glad to
destruction
catch
of the
a
core
stream
here.
After so long.
Well, if that
Picked up
cannon
Nova
is
Drift,
smart
Tri-Blade
and doesn't shoot that
Architect.
upgraded
Sometime
turbine
it's
that is
fun
very
called
tempting
Hit a
on top of the
Boomerang.
core,
It's aiming
Yeah.
for it. You can see it's aiming for it. It's like
It
it's
wants to
aiming
shoot
down.
it.
It wants to shoot that turbine. It knows what it wants in life, and it wants that turbine.
Whoa,
Oh.
almost a door snipe on the minigun. Almost. It understood that it had to abandon what it wanted and do what was right.
Oh,
Shoot at the
dear.
exposed minigun.
Good summary of the tourney would be, now all the turbines are gone, progress may be made.
Yes.
It's so
Very accurate.
real, very accurate. Still, both teams have managed to soft lock themselves, so it's just a matter of the time running down. And at this point in time, Mateo's team 2 is in the lead.
Yeah, I can actually see what's the problem. If you look at Mateo's bottom base, you see that floating node?
Mm-hmm.
It's repeatedly falling because the way it is lined up, the deformation means it can't build any strut to support it. And so after the floating node's timer wears off, it just falls and immediately reconstructs the fallen node.
It's really
That's why
quite
when you record an AI,
sad.
it highly recommends no accidental falling parts because then the AI will just keep on rebuilding that fallen part and it will fall again.
Oh dear. These poor AI have beaten themselves and each other into endless loops, inescapable loops that don't stop.
They're good at that, I have to say. It's rather impressive.
They are. A lot of people are like, "Oh, what cool strategy did you come up with for an AI?" The best strategy is one that doesn't detonate itself. Every time.
One that's simple enough to work.
Yes. More core damage.
It tried to hit the turbine. I think the deviation prevented that, though. You know.
I'll
just say that.
possibly. Yeah. It did hit the sandbag, which was defending the turbine, and then splashed onto the core. Oh, jeez.
Mateo is victorious.
Congratulations, he moves on. Just a little bit of chip damage on the core is enough to make the difference.
The unstoppable damage of a cannon.
That's what I like about cannons. They can't be stopped. They just hit, and they hit again.
It is nice just having that guaranteed damage. Even though, I have to admit, I think Mateo, if he put like 5 more extra minutes, a little bit of extra soul into his AI and had it build the doors for its second cannon, it might be a little bit more destructive.
I mean, I would be safe assuming that he actually intended to put doors there. It just got soft locked somewhere else.
I'm saying 5 more minutes and by testing the AI beforehand. Before submitting it.
Oh yeah, and I think that's true for just about everyone here, more or less.
Yeah, probably. Are we ready?
All right, let's do this. Okay, so here on the left-hand side we have Alex clocking in with an upgrade center and a workshop to start things off. And on the right-hand side we have Tux Luigi coming in also with an upgrade center and a workshop. We have an early sniper out of Team 2. He's got a couple turbines to shoot at, so he's going to have fun with that and just plinking away at those for quite some time.
Or the sandbag protecting said turbine.
Yes. For those who haven't seen this before, the creators of these AI are well aware of the inherent obsession with turbines. So many times what players will do is they will have a turbine placed and then protect the turbine with something like a sandbag. That way the turbine draws aggro and the sandbag protects.
And it's kind of interesting. The sandbag setup is specifically where the sandbag is in the middle of the turbine rather than the double sandbag where you would have 2. Which would be better in like a human match with the less accurate AI. But with the more accurate AI, they love shooting at the exact center of that turbine.
That is exactly correct. So you'll notice that there is quite a bit of distance above and below this sandbag, and this turbine is vulnerable to being shot, but the AI is so perfect with its accuracy that it will always aim dead center mass, so it never actually hits the top and bottom exposed bits of the turbine. It just always goes dead center where it hits the sandbag and fails to damage the turbine. Looks like we do have some anti-air out of Team 2, which is very useful to defend against the meager amount of mortars from Team 1. Unfortunately, said anti-air is only behind a single brace, which is vulnerable to AP snipers. So that AP sniper is fully capable of destroying basically anything out of Team 1 here. It just picks a target and removes it from play, which is very quickly going to add up. As you've seen earlier, a single AP sniper is not enough. Doesn't have the rate of fire to soft lock things, but it's absolutely going to slow down Team 2 by a huge margin.
Yep.
And often, just slowing down their opponent is enough to win the game, to get far enough ahead to make the difference.
Those miniguns actually might stun lock the top AI because the miniguns are bouncing off the metal and hitting the machine gunners behind the wood protection.
They are. And also, they are also targeting those turbines, which I know, big shot. But miniguns, unlike snipers, are fully capable of destroying the sandbag protection and then also the turbine behind it. And turbines can be kind of expensive, and so that usually ends up with a couple miniguns can be enough to soft lock a target just because the turbines are exposed. Or by exposed, I mean behind a singular sandbag.
Which it thinks is exposed because it doesn't calculate the sandbag for some reason.
Correct.
That'd be an interesting addition to the AI intelligence. if it sees that there's a sandbag.
Just don't consider it as exposed.
Yeah. If the trajectory of the shot hits a sandbag, and you're using a sniper, just ignore it.
I just want to point out something that happened. So Team 2 bottom base has a pair of AP snipers. Now, Team 1 has double doors, mostly. Team 1 just lost its sniper because Team 2's sniper managed to fit the shot underneath the tiny door that is guarding the sniper just above Team 1's lower fort, which is impressive and a shot that we will probably see a few more times throughout this match.
Likely unintentional and just due to the standard deviation of the AP sniper shot.
Indeed. That's often what happens. Now, I'm pretty certain the AI does actually aim for that, but the standard deviation of the sniper rounds at that distance for AP snipers is great enough that it won't be able to consistently make it. So,
Well, yeah. The AP sniper has actually surprisingly high deviations, so similar to a cannon.
it does, and that's a little bit strange for something that's called a sniper. Now, remember that the regular sniper, the unupgraded one, does not have such a varied deviation or variance to its rounds.
Yeah, front base from Tux looks pretty suppressed. He keeps on losing those AP snipers and replacing them and losing them again, and has not made any forward progress in his build.
What surprises me is that it's actually just getting door sniped. Like, it's not, despite having
not a
relatively
stun
small
round.
doors, it's just losing its AP snipers to the regular snipers of Team 1, of Alex here. But the missiles have launched. Progress is being made, just very slow progress. And that is, well, exactly what I mentioned before. Very often you don't have to stun lock your opponent, you just have to slow them down. And at this point, Team 1 is progressing very far ahead. It's got a nuke just about completed. And that is...
I imagine Tux as back base was trying to save up for an upgrade center, but he keeps on replacing those two machine gunners in the front and can never save up for the 600 metal needed to place down an upgrade center.
Mm-hmm. It almost gets there sometimes, but these two machine gunners that just keep exploding, it's slowing it down just enough to not let it happen. And for it, we're going to soon see a nuclear launch out of Team 1 here. And that's very likely going to be the beginning of the end for Team 2.
The heavy mortars are landing on front base, which is really hurting its economy.
With these machine gunners that keep getting destroyed by the minigunners and or sniper ricochets, it's those mortars, a surprising amount of them are landing. I will say that. Ooh, swarm missile launch.
Quite a bit of swarms, actually. The nuke is ready to fire, but Alex's AI is doing the smart thing and upgrading its energy first.
Yeah, that is a very smart thing. It does have... That's not a scenario where it has to worry about being soft-locking itself. Just because those turbines cost less than the firing cost of the nuke. So it can always purchase turbines and will never lock itself for trying to fire a nuke repeatedly. But
Yeah.
having the turbines first is usually a better... Just more efficient, more optimal, if you would.
But he does have the miniguns, which are kind of making it a little harder for the for upgrading the turbines. Oh, that was a lucky
Indeed.
nuke.
Very. Core damage has been dealt, and, well, Team 2's bottom base is out of metal. Can't even properly repair itself, so this is going to end very poorly very quickly. Team 2 has been slowed down, and, well, now Team 1 is coming in for the kill, it would seem. Yes, it looks like Team 1's forward base is now switching out one of its mines for a swarm missile launcher. And that'll be the... Oh, this might actually... Ooh! Huge amounts of damage. Team 2's upper base taking a nuke to its foundation. Everything is being repaired, and he does not have nearly enough income to complete those repairs. He's going to be sitting there harping on that, hitting that repair button long, long after the next nuke is fired.
I see an armor coming from Alex's top base. I wonder what he's gonna put, if an EMP, a flak, or a smoke on that little platform on the top of his base.
I don't think I've ever seen a smoke used in an AI battle. I don't even know how that affects it.
He put down a flak, I believe. Or is that a smoke? It's hard to tell. Their base is the same.
Here comes another nuke. Oh, this looks lethal.
That's,
Oh!
the double doors were able to tank the shot, so... It is a smoke. I was right.
Huh. So we have a smoke
Alex
launcher.
loves the smoke.
I mean, I don't blame him. I just don't know how effective it's going to be versus... Actually, you know, now to think about it. Smoke prevents building.
Ooh.
AI that can't build.
Worst nightmare.
Yes. It's like that could completely shut down an AI indefinitely, perhaps, if it stops a single brace. I don't know how that interaction works. I'm going to be honest. I have no idea how that interaction works.
It doesn't harm to underestimate the AI's intelligence, though.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're right. I don't think I could possibly underestimate it. It's just you just keep lowering the expectations, and you're still surprised.
That was a well-timed smoke, actually.
Very well timed.
Like, insanely well-timed. Doesn't know how to use smoke properly? That would be surprising.
Honestly, I have no idea. I've never seen it happen.
I've never seen it. Yeah, me neither. Discovering a new meta.
Perhaps extremely powerful.
Because does the AI know not to fire the... Yeah, it looks...
I have no idea. I have no idea. It's sitting there. It didn't fire it. This time it looked like it wanted to fire it and then didn't. Oh!
GG.
Decapitation by nuclear firepower.
Finish off with the minigun.
All right.
101,000 damage.
Massive damage dealt. Alex with the victory. Moving on to face Mateo in the next match.
I must say, I don't remember Mateo having many front-facing machine gunners. That nuke might hurt a lot.
I do want to give a shout out to Moef coming in with the nuclear launch, asking for more turbines. Apparently, we're gonna see many of those. And Muted Maestro coming in with the everything is on fire. Yes, I do remember you. Long time. No, so you do stop in every so often, if I recall.
I do know that Alexi has specifically stated that he put a lot of work into his AI, and I can tell because it didn't stun lock itself. It didn't break. Just a good step.
And Osprey 28 coming in with the 5. Yes, the Emperor protects. It's the sandbag protects. That seems to be the case. Alright, so yes, Mateo did do very well in that. And it looks like I'm actually up next, so that's going to be exciting. Ready when you are.
Okay.
So this is myself versus Rage Alert. I believe I'm on the left-hand side here. Yes, we have me being on the left-hand side and Rage Alert on the right-hand side. Now, my prediction for this match is that I will not win, and I will not win by a fairly significant margin.
You must believe in the mortars.
I do believe in the mortars, and my opponent has many more of them than I do. So I do not.
That is true.
So I don't think I'm going to be coming out on top, but I do like seeing how this is going to play out. I'm excited about this. So let's go.
Plenty of behind the base turbines, harnessing all of that non-existent wind floor.
I know. That is one of the things, like, if there's no wind floor, why not just build them behind the base? Well, because they're expensive, but you don't have to worry about things going wrong. I still like
stun lock targets.
Yeah. I still like my cheeky little play here with the turbine inside and underneath the core. The sandbag in front of it.
I do appreciate that. It still has a maximum efficiency because the turbine has that weird cone. So if you have wood right next to the turbine, it doesn't actually block any of its efficiency.
That's what I liked about it. Not only is it 100% efficiency, but it's super cheap to put there. and it counts as taunting the enemy snipers. Now, of course, my opponent here is not building any snipers, and my meager amount of MGs that I'm building to deal with early mortar aggression is not going to stop. He's going straight for the turbines. He's going straight for the turbines. Like the only wrong answer is go for the turbines here. Shoot there's 5 exposed items. That's like 6 mortars that went into a single turbine there. If he had shot the machine gunners, this game would end so much faster.
It looks like a major problem with your base. That sandbag you put in front of your MGs is really decreasing the angle on the lower mortars that are hitting your front base. Of course, they're just hitting the turbines, so it's really
it's not
making much of a difference.
It's not even getting hit. Oh dear. I'm concerned that it hasn't put the machine gunner back. It could really use that machine gunner.
Well, it put it back.
Oh, there it goes. Okay. So
it's kind of interesting. Oh, you go.
Yes. There is technically a chance if my top fort is able to get up its mortars, because Team 2 really doesn't have any anti-mortar, so there is a small opportunity where it could get some damage done to Team 2 and start things going, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I really don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think it's just going to be a slow and inevitable demise on my part. And
if you can get just a few mortars, just a couple incendiary, that could really turn the table.
It could, and I don't think it's going to, because Team 2 has turbines.
That is, but the turbines are below the mortars. You see, that's the secret. So when it targets the turbines, it's gonna hit the mortars anyways.
It has one of them which is exposed, and here come the heavy mortars. Yep.
That's gonna hurt.
That is indeed going to hurt. Yep.
It's kind of funny how you left the perfect background bracing in your base just to let it hit that one turbine in the back.
I really didn't mind that, to be honest. I noticed that, and I didn't mind it because it means that it's hitting the turbines and not something else. But it's not going to matter. Death comes in the form of heavy mortars.
Yep. I think front base could have been a little bit more helpful with the MG department.
I mean, yes. Really didn't think that was going to be that big of a problem. Especially considering...
But you're facing Rage Alert, and do you see his bases?
Yeah, they're certainly wild, which is what I love about them. Yeah, that one sandbag. Very wild, very effective, and it's gonna be super dangerous to deal with. Oh my gosh. Let's see, my forward base hasn't even gotten the upgrade center yet, so it's nowhere near moving on to dealing damage. And of course my top base is suffering. Yep, there it goes. That's one core down. This is how it ends, team. This is how it ends.
Ooh, those are some nice mortar shots. When it's trying to shoot the turbine, it's hitting those MGs instead.
So many mortars. They're all getting upgraded. This poor one machine gunner is the only one surviving.
I tell you, mortars and snipers, they're with their like super high accuracy, they're like the 2 weapons, I think, other than the Howie, that the AI really knows how to use.
Mm-hmm. You are correct, and
I think one just okay, no mortars. I was gonna say when one lands, but that one MG is a well-paid MG.
Yep, I mean I put him there with a purpose.
For his life.
Just dig like straight through. Mortars. Oh my gosh, it's so brutal. Very fast, but Rage Alert moves on. GG.
GG. Rage Alert's AI is looking pretty good and might make it far in the tournament.
I have to agree with that. I think that is likely going to make it to the finals.
It is interesting to see that he builds no snipers at the beginning, which really, I don't know if that's an advantage or a disadvantage, because it could be helpful, because he doesn't have to replace the sniper over and over again, which can become quite the metal drain.
Oh, absolutely. But it does also mean that that base is vulnerable to any kind of forward assault. Something like, I don't know, Eaton's rocket build could do massive damage.
Indeed. Are we ready to start?
Let's go. Samster versus Birdies. Ladies and gentlemen, here on the left-hand side, we have Samster coming in with a rather messy build. And on the right-hand side, we have Bowser, also a rather messy build. So this one's going to be an interesting battle. This is going to be a battle of whoever's build manages to survive itself the most, I think. Do have some anti-air out of Bowser. It's a lot of snipers and a lot of anti-air, if I recall correctly. So we are going to see some well...
3 sniper shots went through that door as it was closing.
Now remember, Samster's build has several sniper decoys. So while Bowser is coming in with many snipers, they are going to be a little bit distracted by most of what Samster has here. You can already see that coming to fruition. Hitting sandbags.
Will the 2 MGs for that Bowser build be enough to handle Samster's mortars?
Samster, I believe, builds 3, so it's very likely yes. However, given their position behind the turbine, there is an angle where the mortars should be able to land, but of course, that's only on the front wood, so maybe not so much damage.
I've noticed that one of the snipers, after it had, for some reason, it converted one of its BGs to FG, so that top sniper on bottom base can't actually fire.
I was wondering about that. I don't remember if that happened last time or if there's some other AI mishap happening.
Gotta aim for that turbine. Actually, the sandbag in front of the turbine. I do remember that Samster later on does get 3 extra mortars.
Indeed, but then the question is Samster alive at that point?
We'll see. We'll see. Gotta appreciate those exposed MGs. They are daring. You know,
they are
that
so
exposed
bold.
Turbine is so tempting.
Oh, he's actually selling the sniper out of the bottom segment there.
Must have just been a part of his. Oh yeah, I remember. That's a base that does mostly tanking. Builds a few extra MGs, while back base goes into nukes.
We'll see if... I don't remember... As I remember we mentioned, I don't know if that was the intentional design to have it never do anything, or what. I guess we'll have another opportunity to see.
I imagine it got unlocked. I imagine. Because it could do so much with all the metal it has. Build more MGs even. Because you're going to need all the MGs if you're facing Rage Alert.
Oh,
that
good
exposed
Lord.
sniper. Samster is the only man I've seen who can do the exposed sniper well. Because he distracts with those tempting machine gunners.
They're so tempting. If only... Even the turbine is not getting hit right now, which is impressive.
He has found the cheese. With the turbine, with the protected machine gunner behind a sandbag, it seems to be irresistible.
I'm getting some updated information. Bowser comes in and says that it is actually just the end of the build for the Team 1 fort. Doesn't do upgrades, doesn't do anything else. It's just designed to stop there and just exist as a machine gun platform.
Okay. I can understand the strategy of that. If you try to have it spin more, it will spin more. And when it gets hit, it won't have metal. Which means it dies. That's one thing about Samster's build. He built his MGs a little bit too far forward so they consistently get blasted by the swarm missiles.
That's
Yeah, those.
just kind of Fort's jank. Very hard to deal with, even in an actual game.
I just saw one MG just murder its brother on the bottom base. It was sad. So finally, a nuke coming from Bowser's back base. And his front base has already finished its build and is now floating, ready to tank anything that comes.
There's
Or replace all of its MGs.
Yes, I was about to say, because there's one very interesting thing. A bit of a logic error when building this tanky base. The tanky base doesn't have anything worth shooting at, so it won't get shot.
Nope.
Which kind of defeats the purpose of the tankiness if its friend is the only one getting shot and not the tanky base. It's just basically invisible. I say as it eats a swarm missile around.
I think the sandbags might be tempting it. I don't know. Who knows? Sometimes it's hard to interpret the AI logic.
The tank base needs additional turbines. That would be a very strong boost, I think. However, it looks like it's got a dangling platform, which is the beginning of the end for this AI's brain.
Well, it stopped the build anyway, so all it could not do is build that one strut that it all it wanted to do anyways. It's
I
not
mean,
stopping it from continuing.
That is fair.
It wanted to continue.
That is fair. We have.
You can't hurt the AI if there's nothing to hurt. You know, you can't hurt
That's
its
true.
brain. It doesn't
You
have
cannot
one.
kill what is already dead.
Fixing the deformation.
Hey.
Except it still doesn't want to rebuild that tiny strut. Tiny struts are just doesn't want to build it.
I think it just broke. It gave up trying to build it, and that's the end of that.
Those miniguns are gonna make it really hard for that nuke to get through. I say that, it's just the one MG carrying, so that works too.
I mean, he's got a fair few MGs just out there. He's got multiple exposed machine gunners, like. I do appreciate that the AI actually uses the MG to automatically target and shoot down the missiles.
Yep, it also does. It does it the same with shotguns, and with the shotguns it's kind of interesting. It sets it to a super narrow spread that's just bullet accurate. It's just like laser accurate with that super narrow spread. It's kind of scary.
Cross the map, snipe and warhead as it launches over the base.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of trouble with warheads just because the warhead has such a wobbly trajectory. That tiny spread can sometimes, just because of travel distance, miss.
Hey, that's what
Swarms are
black is
landing.
for. Swarms are landing, but to what avail?
Something. Slow avail. They're actually protecting the mortars. That's interesting. Must have been a back and forth, but one AI is progressing and one is not progressing as quickly, so I think Samster's slowly leading. The major problem with Samster's AI has is it's just energy starved. You can see both of his AIs are barely over 1,000 metal. Those two little regular turbines just aren't enough. Those relentless miniguns just shooting that wood spam over and over again. My ears, hearing that sound is just gonna echo in my mind when I sleep. New coming from Samster, almost completed. Let's go do some heavy damage to the middle base, to the top base from Bowser. Top base from Bowser has no forward AA. The only thing Samson needs to do is get some more turbines so he doesn't energy starve himself.
I'm sorry, I muted myself there. I was saying I don't think there's anything that well, Samster could do at this point. He's going to be energy starved with that nuke completion.
I don't remember if he builds any extra turbines.
I don't remember seeing any extra turbines.
Yeah, because, well, it's slowly
Wait,
saving
no,
up.
no, it did after building the fire beam, or after putting down the
Oh, yes, the factory.
the factory.
Well, wait, that's actually really smart. It tries to save up for the factory, which lets it get enough energy to fire the nuke. That's
Ah.
interesting.
I don't know if that's how that works.
No, the AI specifically tries to save up for, like, if it tried to do other things. Well, I guess it should have built the turbines first, obviously, I think.
I'm pretty certain it just saves up, and then if it's able to build its next item, then it builds the next item, and if not, then it just fires a weapon. And because
That's what I'm
weapons are
saying,
usually able to
yeah.
fire, it will always fire the weapon first.
And that's I'm saying that's good because that's what would let the AI save up to fire the nuke. But it appears that his energy production is just too low that he just needs more turbines.
Indeed. Just gonna hit that 4,000 mark. Well, it's not gonna hit the 4,000 mark because there's a mortar. Yeah, it's using all of its energy. It is hardly even able to fire the nuke, so that may be some time.
Just one nuke could really quickly end this game.
Absolutely. Now. Nope.
Oh, those mortars are not quite where they need to be.
If Team 2's nuke manages to land, which is very unlikely given the vast amounts of anti-air on the field, Team 1 not very well defended versus a nuke.
Yeah, one nuke to bottom base could be extremely critical. One thing I could imagine, you see the background racing behind the minigunner? The bottom minigunner?
Mm-hmm.
When the nuke hits that, I think the nuke has enough AoE damage to actually delete the PG, which could be a very structurally bad for that base.
Yes. I don't think it would fall because it has the rope connecting it to it, but the AI would definitely go through a panic attack and most likely a mental breakdown.
Any base laning it causes a breakdown for humans too, though, if you know what I mean.
That's true.
Have you seen what a base looks like after it gets minigun rushed? It looks like a tumor has grown out of the ground.
Oh, jeez. It's funny because it's true.
Samster might just win this with just pure damage.
I think that's going to be the case. When the clock, in 2 minutes when the clock runs down, it's going to come down to not how much core damage has been dealt. Because no core damage has been dealt, it's going to come down to whoever has done the most structure damage. And I suspect Samster wins on that. Strongly suspect.
That's one thing you need to think about when testing your AIs, is let it fire its weapons at a target, just a dummy target that has like a bunch of turbines or something, just so that you can see if it has enough energy to do what you want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of these people, they just built it and then tested it in sandbox to see if it had like enough storages to do what it wants.
Mm-hmm.
Not realizing that 3 mortars is very... I was just staring at that junk nuke. 3 mortars consumes a lot of energy.
Yes. I believe there was a mod that I saw was specifically meant for testing that, so that it lets you test it in sandbox, where when you put a weapon down after a completed construction, it just constantly drained energy and metal at the same rate as if it had been constantly firing. So you didn't have to worry about dealing with the target. You just put it down, and then it assumes that it detracts from your total income the firing cost of the weapon.
That's really smart, actually. Yeah, I would totally use that.
I remember seeing that somewhere at some point. I would have to. I didn't think about it until after, but alas, would have been very
20
useful
seconds
to have.
left. Yeah, 20 seconds left, and I don't see anything changing. So, I see the fire beam almost about to finish as usual, right as the match ends.
And it will not get to fire. That's for sure.
No.
But hey, the
That's
turbines got added on, so maybe the nuke will be able to happen in another 2 minutes.
And another 2 minutes, in another realm, in another world.
Indeed, in another world. But here we have Samster with a victory. Moving on to face Rage Alert in the semifinals.
I think Rage Alert has a good chance because I don't remember that many MGs coming from Samster at the beginning. Except those sandbag MGs, which don't do anything.
Yes, actually, I think I would put Rage Alert with the advantage in the next upcoming match. At least between those two. Alright. I do want to say a shout out, thank you to Cronkinator, who's handling all the behind the scenes, switching out the AIs, getting everything working nice and smoothly.
Yeah, he screenshotted what he has to deal with. Just this huge list of just a bunch of Lua files and like all named crazily.
Yeah, I can imagine.
A lot of AIs.
It's probably a little bit difficult to remember who's who.
Yeah.
Alright, looks like we're good to go on to the next match here. Let's do this. I like how fast these matches are.
No, it's so nice to just like, what's the next match? Oh, that, boom, done.
Exactly.
Let's watch it.
And this one we have Eaton versus Freedom. Eaton here on the left-hand side, going with the strange mix of rockets and snipers, which is exciting, something we don't get to see much of just because rockets are so hard to use in at least this particular environment. And on the right-hand side, we have Freedom with the, if I recall correctly, a rather strange build. Didn't quite work properly, but worked better than the opponents. And so it is here.
It's soft-locked because it was the one that was face scoring, which was the one that was just about to lose because of the mortars. If you can remember that. I just see that upgrade center getting drilled by that sniper hitting that slanted metal.
That's such an expensive repair.
It is.
Oh, exposed snipers.
Oh, I'm gonna have to head out to the restroom just real quick. I'll be back.
So here we have an exposed sniper, which is not ideal. So this base is going to be soft locked for the foreseeable future. Because, well, Team 1, Eaton here, has a sniper behind a tiny door. This sniper is going to be safe, and it's going to perpetually and infinitely destroy the sniper atop Teams 2 base. So Teams 2 base here will not be able to defend itself forever. There's not much saving it. The only thing that could possibly save it is if its ally here in the bottom position is able to make the difference. But I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't think that's going to happen. We have an AP sniper attempting to do some damage here. Doesn't really have anything to attack. Eaton here on the left side on Team 1 has done well to make sure that his rockets are not exposed to damage until after they have been upgraded, which is a very, very insightful thing to do. This base is still soft locked. I'm just trying to predict what is going to happen. I think Team 2 here is just going to continually suffer. There's nothing that's going to stop it. I don't think this bottom base is going to be able to save its ally or itself from the oncoming doom. Team 1 is able to freely continue building. It's going to get up double nukes and then just decimate the opponent. It's still building freely as it sees fit. Here come the rockets. And core damage has been dealt, but I don't think that's going to be particularly important in terms of the timer. I don't think either of these forts are going to last longer than another 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome
Yeah.
back.
And
Yeah.
I'm just watching that upgrade center just getting shot continuously. It's kind of funny.
It is. It is kind of funny. But this is going to be an extremely one-sided match. Top base has been soft-locked by a single exposed sniper. And, well, bottom base is... It's not able to defend itself against the oncoming onslaughts of rockets and soon-to-be nukes.
One thing to point out, you notice there's already an extra battery and more turbines on Eaton's bottom base.
Mm-hmm.
Because for some reason his Team 1 AI is a little bit smart. I was saying a little bit smarter as it shoots its own doors. Supposed to be a little bit smarter than the right side AI. And so it's finally getting the energy production it needs to actually fire those double nukes.
Ooh. Nice. I was wondering about that, because I remember the right side AI seemed to be different than the left side, than what I was seeing here. I don't remember it getting even that second turbine. But if I recall correctly, Kronk, didn't you re-mirror each AI right before the tournament?
Yeah. Well, everyone sent me their Team 1 AI, and then I mirrored it again. So it
After
should
doing
be
a map fix?
the same AI, perhaps it just got soft locked by itself again.
Perhaps.
It's just tiny struts with a sandbag. You know, what can you expect?
That might have been what happened. As you can see here, the tiny strut with the sandbag is present here. So it's very likely that's exactly what happened.
You know, I'm seeing the sold off metal on Eaton's base, and it just reminded me of Scorin's early buzzsaw. But Scorin has other problems with his base, like the exposed snipers, so it might not ever create the buzzsaw.
Mm-hmm. Well, the exposed sniper is no longer exposed. Not that that's going to save it. Not even close to saving it. But at least it had an opportunity to make an effort to live its life and move on in the world as double nukes come in.
Oof. Double oof.
Super one-sided. Eaton moves on to the semifinals.
A little bit of a beatdown.
Very much so. Very, very much so of a beatdown. That was, Eaton is very good at this. He knows what he's doing. And he's coming out on top.
And when that sandbag builds,
if and only if that one sandbag builds. Oh, jeez.
only problem is, looking at the bracket, he's going to be player 2, team 2.
Well, I don't know
with
if
the
that's...
proper seeding.
I don't know if that's going to make the difference. So, previously or earlier, there was actually a discrepancy in the map, which meant that the AI were actually different, and oftentimes had different build orders and different problems. However, Kronk, a few minutes before the tournament, managed to fix the map and re-mirrored it. So now the AI are the same, and they should, in theory, not have those kind of discrepancies. Now, that still doesn't stop the AI from having some random recoil or sway that could or may not affect the position of the sandbag. So we'll still see.
For some reason, the lobby disappeared in my multiplayer lobby, in my menu. So I'm
I've
just
been
gonna restart
clicking.
my game to see if it works.
Okay. I'm still connected to the internet, I presume. I'm talking to y'all.
Yes. I am in the lobby as well.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like the glitched out, if the feature where that hides the lobby glitched out or something.
Maybe.
Let's
This'll
see if
be your
typing
moment.
fixes that. Who do you think is gonna win Incursus?
Out of Mateo or Alex? That is a good question. I think I'm gonna have to guess. That's actually a pretty even match, I think. If I were compelled to answer that question, I would think Mateo.
Yeah, I'm leaning a little bit on the Alex C side, just because I think Mateo's singular cannon might not be enough, but we'll find out.
The lobby is still not showing up for me.
You want me to recreate it?
Can you join?
that would be
Okay,
good.
go for it.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, now it's there.
All right, so make sure we set it up.
Yep. Define so much.
And unlock teams.
Does that look correct?
Commanders.
There we go.
There we go. That should be it.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
And we forgot observer tools.
Oh, observer tools. That would be very, very nice. Thank you.
There we go.
Excellent.
It's a little bit of a setup.
Yeah.
All
I was
right,
watching
and
Eaton. Yeah.
we are
Okay.
off. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I was watching Eaton test his AI, and he clicks so fast when doing all those options, and he had it down. Like in the menus, even in the menus, he's fast.
Use the macro to do the menu. No. Just in all the testing, I assume. He's done it so many
Yeah.
times. But here we have, on Team 1 left-hand side, it's Mateo. Opening with a sniper and an armory. Remember, this is one base that has a bit of a cannon rush going around. On the right-hand side, however, we have Alex. Opening upgrade center and workshop. Both players are not going heavy into the economy, sitting at 3 mines apiece. Actually, Team 1's left-hand side's lower base is only sitting on 2 mines, so that's very low economy. That's a particularly straight up rush.
Something I see with Mateo's bottom base is very vulnerable to an AP sniper,
Indeed, it is.
and one's coming from top, so that might hurt a lot.
We could have a bout of a soft lock immediately. I don't know if the sniper has the angle.
The tiny door might be too tiny.
Might be too tiny.
No, it has the angle.
It's got an angle. Okay. So and there we have. So that's going to be Team 1's bottom base is very likely. Oh yeah, it's got more than enough angle. So Team 1's bottom base is going to be soft locked by this AP sniper. Then the mortars are going to come out. Now, it is possible that Team 1's bottom base still participates by virtue of having that machine gunner just sitting in its little trench, in this little machine gun pit, and that could stop Team 2 from actually capitalizing too hard on the soft lock, as this bottom base is extremely unlikely to be able to move forward or progress without Team 2 being completely suppressed. But it can still defend its teammate, as the singular machine gunner utterly fails to defend its teammate from the 3 mortars of Team 2 here.
It does provide us a distraction as well.
It does. Alright, looks like Team 2's top base has got double doors, so it will no longer die to the AP sniper, but it still has to deal with the mortars, and that's going to be a huge issue. If I
Well, it's
recall...
gonna finally help with the roof gunners. You can see it built the little position at the top
Indeed.
for some.
In the last
think
match, there it is. There are the roof gunners, and that could make the difference here.
I think bottom base would appreciate the help. That one machine gunner, he's trying so hard.
Indeed. I think with those 2 additional roof gunners of Team 1's upper base, that's going to shut down the mortars from Team 2 here.
Yeah, Those 3 mortars are not going to make much progress.
They will not, and that's going to enable Team 2 to actually work up and get the heavy weapon out. But I really don't think it's going to solve the problem of Team 1's, well, lower fort just suffering. So remember, Team 1's lower fort is being soft locked, not by the mortars, but by the sniper.
It pretty much soft locks itself because of all the tiny doors on the EMP.
I mean, that it might do that, although that hasn't come into play just yet. This is more so because it just has an exposed sniper, effectively.
Yep, but if I remember right, it was mostly the back base I was carrying.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Which is kind of unfortunate for the forward base, because the forward base is only sitting on 2 mines, so it's it's really suffering, and because it only has 2 mines, it won't really ever be able to tank by virtue of not having the eco to heal itself.
Here comes the Spire Gunner.
The Spire Gunner is what made the difference last time.
It will help from Alex C's singular nuke. The RNG might make the difference.
I wonder. Because we have a nuke coming out of Alex here on the right-hand side, or rather a swarm missile. It's not yet a nuke, but we know it soon shall be.
He already lost the EMP. What happened? Or got AP sniped?
Yeah. The Team 1's lower base is woefully unable to handle AP snipers. Just the early AP sniper out of Team 2 is brutal. It near completely shut down. What happened to Team 1's top base? I think it deformed or wobbled too much. I think it wobbled too much, it can't put down the MG.
That's sad. The Spire MG. I was kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, that is one of the side effects of building too tall and too small. You can see here how it wobbles back to and fro, and that's often enough to cause deformation, and often deformation sufficient to break the mind of the AI. But actually, it looks like Team 2 has gotten distracted sufficiently that it's let Team 1's lower base unsoft lock. Or rather, is no longer in a death spiral, so to speak.
One problem, though. That nuke, without the Spire Gunner, has like 100% chance of getting through.
Yes, I tend to agree. And more importantly, Team 1's top base with the cannon has soft-locked itself, dealing with its own deformation. The cannon is completed, but the doors have not yet been added. It is likely the deformation of the spire and the inability to place the gunner has prevented it from proceeding its build order. It will no longer open up the doors for the cannon, and therefore the cannon will not participate in this battle. Without the cannon, Team 1 has no damage output, so this battle can only ever go one direction. I think the only hope Team 1 has at this point is if the deformed area of the build gets destroyed and can be rebuilt in a clean manner. And I don't think anything is going to happen from Team 2 that can enforce that scenario.
I'm just gonna say, I think a lot of people have always wondered, like, why frustration is turned off on these AIs. Like, if it causes such big problems like getting soft locked all the time. It's just because a lot of the strategies that humans like to do, an AI with frustration turned on will fail to do very well. For example, the AI with frustration, because it's an ultra hard AI, it makes so many attempts so quickly that it's just so easily frustrated that any basic step like placing a door, it skips because it's too expensive.
Mm-hmm. And the first nuke lands. Yeah,
and the base lives.
Barely, but with only 2 mines, that's not going to live for really any meaningful amount of time.
Yeah, those 4 upgraded turbines from Alex C are going to be much better at fitting that nuke than Samster.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. By a huge margin. 2 regular turbines versus 4 upgraded turbines. Oh dear. But yes, that is, on the frustration topic, that is something that we see quite often. They have someone in chat, for example, asking why the AIs don't have a built-in command that say if instruction X fails, Y times skip instruction X. That's what frustration is, basically. The problem is that what the outcome of that ends up being is you go through the entire build order only ever building the cheapest things because, hey, I'm going to try to build a piece of metal, but wait, metal is expensive and I have no money because I've just spent all of it on the previous command. So I'm going to skip the metal because I can't build it.
Then you end up with a huge base.
A huge base made entirely out of wood with nothing in it.
Yep.
And it goes through the entire build order building not from in any particular order, but instead the order of from cheapest to most expensive. And it's really not very effective. It can be used, but it's not, shall we say, good. And it loses to these builds that don't have frustration on. It fairly consistently loses to those builds that don't have frustration on. So that it makes it such that even though these builds here, these AI, sure they soft lock and sure they have a terrible time doing things, they still perform better than those that skip instructions, which is...
They get weapons, which is what matters.
They still get weapons. An AI may soft lock after building 3 heavy mortars, but 3 heavy mortars is more than the giant wooden base that the frustration on tends to get.
So yeah, that's why all these AI designers have to deal with stun locking and all that annoying stuff, because the AI is dumb.
It is. It's
summarized.
It's not very smart. For being an artificial intelligence, it's not really intelligence.
It's just artificial.
Indeed.
That nuke has yet to fire. He just needs to fire that nuke 2 more times and take out both bases, and that would quickly end this match.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it hasn't. I'm not sure why it hasn't fired.
I really
I know
think it's just been busy doing other things.
that doesn't make sense. It has like infinite APM. Like what could
for
it?
example, look at bottom
There
base.
it goes.
Bottom base has been stun locked because they put a metal behind the sniper, and the tiny door has squished the sniper, and so the sniper can't actually be put in bottom base.
Yeah, that one.
Galaxy.
That one I saw. Is the sniper doesn't fit in here anymore, so it can't build the sniper and therefore cannot build the turbo. It cannot fire the nuke. But why are the mortars not firing?
Now that I can't answer.
What
I have no idea.
happened?
It's gotten dumb.
Also, minor build order concern. Doesn't this nuke from the bottom base slam into the...
It really looks like it does.
That looks
that little
disastrous.
extra wood piece. Maybe you could skim by. It's hard to tell. Because the thing is, the nuke is very skinny. And they actually can fit through very, very, very tight holes.
That is
That's
true.
it.
Oh, that's one down. Now, this does mean in 3 minutes, then Team 2 will win off of the tiebreak. But I don't think we're gonna last 3 minutes. I think this game will end long before that point. Especially considering that lower base was the only one that had any anti-air.
They even had a chance of shooting down the nuke.
That is no longer the case. Oh wow, the sniper got sniped through 2 tiny doors, and that
That's the thing with tiny doors. They don't really make a difference, like shooting-wise. They make a difference metal-wise.
Oh,
There goes the cannon.
Yep, and the entire base goes with it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a victor, Alex, coming out on top. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have Alex and Eaton fighting against each other in the semifinals.
That will be an exciting match.
Oh yes, oh yes, I do think. Well, Eaton goes with several snipers to open with.
Yeah, but Alexei does too, and Alexei has miniguns, which will be very handy against the rockets and the nukes.
That's true. We'll see if they manage to soft lock themselves beforehand. But first,
the
we're going to
real
be seeing Rage Alert and Samster.
I'm predicting Rage Alert, and just those mortars are just horrifying.
I agree. I don't think Samster... Sure, Samster gets mortars quickly, but...
Mortars.
One of them has... I believe in the mortars, and one of them has many more mortars than the next. Alright, let's hop right into the next match. Ladies and gentlemen, the first of the semifinals, Rage Alert versus Samster. Here on the left-hand side, we have Rage Alert. Rage Alert, known for doing his AI, which is basically just the ultimate mortar spam. And on the right-hand side, we have Samster. Samster going for the exposed gunners, basically AI shenanigans, tricks the opponent's AI into doing things that it really shouldn't, and then punishes the opponent's AI by slowly tickling them to death with mortars and the occasional maybe nuke, maybe not.
There's only one really big problem. Rage Alert doesn't build any snipers.
Yep. We're going to see a build where Samster prepares to confuse the opponent's AI, and then, well, his opponent's AI just doesn't think. It only builds mortars, and I think that is exactly why I am expecting Rage Alert to come out on top here.
I think I just realized something. You know look at the sandbag setup by Samster on bottom base. Do you notice one of them MGs can actually fire? I think that's what he intended to do in his original build. But each time, the AI has missed its MG placement and just left the foreground bracing in front.
Huh. I'm not sure. I have no idea. I don't know if Samster is in chat and would like to comment on that.
I'm wondering now. The mortars are coming. But from both sides, actually. But a lot more from one side. And they're all landing on Samster's mortars.
The beginning of the end. Samster's mortars, they fired first but lost the engagement. Samster down to 2 mortars.
Which are about to get taken out. No, the turbine is, because you know that you gotta hit that turbine.
Every time with the turbine.
It just like destroyed whatever that turbine even wanted to be built on.
Quick update. I have Samster in chat here. He says, no, it's not supposed to be exposed. But he says it's probably better that it does get exposed.
So it's been building in the intended manner. But there's that one time where it wasn't, and Samster's kind of rethinking if maybe that's how he should have designed it.
Maybe. Or, in this particular case, it's just more useful because there's no snipers. Because if it's exposed truly, then a sniper will inevitably shoot it.
But we've been seeing that the snipers have been mostly hitting the sandbag, which has kind of been a interesting side effect. And that core is exposed on Samster's top base. A couple more incendiary mortars could do a lot of damage. Yep, that I think
It
top base
begins.
is about to go.
Oh, yep, there it goes.
The core didn't die, but the strut the core was on burned away. Incendiary mortars are scary. Imagine if you were a Firebird.
Yeah, a lot of people sleep on incendiary mortars. It's they're very good. They are very, very good.
The thing about fire is you can't build on fire. It's annoying. You have to keep on repairing. It delays repairing. It's infuriating.
That makes incendiary mortars very powerful when you can just chain shoot them and keep the target
and the AI
on fire.
is really good at chain shooting.
Extremely good at chain shooting.
Yep, Rage Alert has built sufficient defenses with no weak points whatsoever.
Those swarm missiles have zero hope whatsoever of doing damage. You absolutely need nukes to even pretend to get damage done.
It's kind of interesting. The Doid MG on the bottom isn't even bothering to fire because they're all incendiary. There's actually a couple of upgraded mortars now. This probably marks the end of Samster.
Yeah, those mortars are all going to merge their shots into the core. Without a turbine to shoot at, the core becomes the next priority. And it's just, it's going to end. Yeah,
those sandbag machine gunners
I
have
was
been
gonna
doing
say,
some good work.
for a machine gunner that's not supposed to be exposed at all, it's really coming in like clutch with this thing, just to keep him alive a little bit longer.
That machine gunner's been doing good. More mortars coming from Rage Alert, all being upgraded. You know, I love Rage Alert's like base design, how short it is, how just yet simple yet effective it is. Because some of these AIs we've been seeing with all their tiny doors and like long struts and everything, they've just been so fancy and complicated. There's none of that in Rage Alert's base.
Short, simple, and to the point. Very, very dangerous.
Literally to the point with mortars.
Every time.
All those mortars, that's it. Nope, never mind. Those sandbag machine gunners holding the line.
Wow. It took out, what, 3 or 4 mortars out of that?
Yes.
Impressive.
Oh, that's gonna hurt. You know, I wish my MGs were like that. They're never that good.
I know, seriously. Oof. Well, he's no longer behind a sandbag. He's well exposed. Oh no, he's gone.
Oh no.
Oh no. This is the end.
MGs. There's about to be a lot of mortars on that one spot.
Yep.
And GG. Landed right on the core.
Every time. All right. Well, Rage Alert moves on to the finals. That was very one-sided, not unexpected.
It's kind of interesting, the first AI tournament, mortars are really popular, yet they didn't seem to do as well as they are doing now. It's kind of a little bit of a meta shift.
I think it came down to players' build orders, so to speak. The first AI tournament, or the previous ones, players built a lot of anti-air and a lot of mortars, and a lot of things vulnerable to anti-air. But the placement was more set in a way that would be expected for a human player. So we had a lot of experiences where players' own anti-air would destroy their own weaponry. This didn't happen so much, except for the one match between, I forget which two it was between. Eaton and Freedom, I think?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Aside from
No,
aside from that specific match, I don't remember the names. I may be incorrect with the names here. Most of the time, people kind of figured out that you need to position your machine gunners and anti-air in a way that it doesn't disrupt itself, and I think that's kind of why mortars are a bit more effective now.
I could see that, and I agree. It's some weird mentality that is because they don't prepare for them as much.
Right.
Okay.
All
Are you
right.
ready to start?
Yes, let's do this. Eaton versus Alex. I would guess Eaton here would come in on top. But here we have on the left-hand side, it's Eaton himself. Already a sniper down and preparing his doors for the shenanigans. On the right-hand side, we have Alex.
I think the miniguns are going to be a big deal in this match.
Miniguns are such a strange mix of effective and ineffective.
They're so easy to door snipe, yet they're such effective AA.
They really are.
And rockets and nukes don't do very well against miniguns.
Yeah, no, that is true. The miniguns are. You see, that's what makes them so effective. They're very good at dealing with things that the AI is otherwise incapable of dealing with, but they're so vulnerable to snipers, and with the snipers being ever present in every matchup, it's not easy to get minigunners to have any meaningful amount of damage done.
But what I've seen, we've seen a solution to that, like with Samster's miniguns. He had the distraction AA, the fake AA, that made the snipers completely ineffective against the actual important targets, which made him able to put down miniguns, which were very handy against players like Bowser.
Exactly. And that's useful, just not so useful against the mortar spam that he encountered.
Exactly. Already an AP sniper. One
An
thing
AP
about
sniper is out.
yeah,
But there's
One
not
thing
a whole
about
lot of
Alex's-
targets. Go ahead.
Alex's miniguns. You notice how low they are on his base
Mhm.
and how high the mortars are on the front base. It doesn't. I don't think it could really shoot nukes or rockets that are heading for his buddy. That fort might have some trouble protecting the other base.
It very well might. It very well might.
Those mortars are distracting the upgraded rocket player in the back because he has to replace a sniper over and over again.
It is slowing it down. I don't think it's going to stop. If I recall correctly, the sniper is supposed to have a second door. I think it broke, which could present a problem. Or maybe it just hasn't built it yet?
I think it just hasn't built it yet.
I'm
I
curious.
imagine he doesn't expect to face AP snipers so early. Plus, the thing with AP snipers is they're so inaccurate they have trouble getting through those tiny doors.
That is true. That is something that I actually relied on in my AI for early sniper harassment.
You can see that the rockets did not land very well because of the miniguns and the little roof MGs and the front MGs.
Ooh. Core damage has been dealt. Not much, but nevertheless enough to tip the scales.
Eaton didn't build any front-facing MGs, so if Alexi can get a single nuke out, that could make the difference.
Could absolutely make the difference, but again, he hasn't even gotten down the swarm missiles yet. It's gonna be a while, and there's already been core damage dealt. It's time to pick up the pace.
Yep. Those rockets they're hurting the economy of both bases.
They absolutely are. It's rockets. One of those things. If your base gets hit by 3 rockets, there's not really any income that can save you from being in an immediate death spiral. But he only has 2 rockets, and not every rocket is landing. So there's still an opportunity for Alex to not just lose to the rockets, but it hurts. It hurts a lot, and it's slowing
We
him
gotta
down.
remember one more thing too. As we learned, the incendiary mortars are great at shooting down, making the opponent shoot down their own rockets.
We're
So
seeing a lot of that.
If we get lucky, if Alexi gets lucky, he can time his AI can become silently smart and time its incendiary mortars with the nuke launch.
I'm still waiting for that. I know I mentioned that last time, but the machine gun positions from Eaton here on the left are in position in such a way that they can cause his own nukes to get drunk, and drunk nukes have the tendency to blow up his own base, or your own base, or whoever fired them.
Yep. And also that shotgun on the bottom, which is a flak right now. If it fires at a very poor time, it could cause something else too.
Oh yes. This is a reoccurring problem, and I think it may actually be a decent hope for Alex here, because these double nukes are happening, and one.
He already
nope.
fired the minigun. Very poor timing on the minigun.
Yep. Oh.
That was. You couldn't actually. That could have been way worse.
That was a strange mix of could have been way worse, and also that was about as bad as it can get.
That's about as bad as it can get without dying.
Yes.
If dying were the worst condition.
Dying
That's
was
about
an
as
option
bad.
on the table, but this is a very close second. Good God. A drunk nuke just dipping down to the foundation, splashing that damage all over second team's bottom base. And with a second pairing of nukes coming around, the miniguns are off cooldown.
The minigun did not do its job, and that's a gone base.
Yep. That's gonna be it. Team 2's top base has been targeted by the nukes and removed. Team 2's bottom base is still recovering from its first encounter with the nukes. And
bottom base does not have any metal whatsoever.
yeah, no, it's done. The nukes are off cooldown again for Team 1. They're about to be fired. It's gonna be over here in a moment. AI can literally fire whenever.
How dangerous nukes have been in this 2v2 because everyone is so afraid of putting front-facing machine gunners that the nukes have just been able to land almost freely.
Mm-hmm. That is a huge part of it. Just the lack of forward-facing anti-air. It's it lets this happen. Oh!
Look, the shotgun just shot down its own nuke. That's the AI being the AI.
Yeah, I mean, the AI saved its opponent from immediate destruction, but... Oof.
Pretty sure the rockets, one land on the rockets from the rockets will just AoE the core to death.
What's the reactor? The reactor is at 8%, so yes. Just one rocket, one splash damage of any kind. Is this gonna be it?
This be the end, I think. No, it.
Ooh.
What's it at now?
3%. 3%. But here come the nukes, and surely it can't knock out its own nukes twice in a row. Oh, the rockets are gonna get it. Oh.
Oh, the EMP. GG.
No kill like overkill as Eaton moves on to the finals. Oh, jeez. That's good. That's real good.
All that DPS takes out Alex C.
Very
Seems
well
to be really
implemented.
punishing those later game strategies.
I like that because AI is in a strange scenario where it's extremely good at everything early game, but the one AI that's capable of surviving to the late game is the one that really gets the damage done. Because if it has a plan for the late game and it can survive its own soft locking, then it almost inevitably wins. The only exception to that is if it somehow gets slaughtered before making it to that point. And it's very rare that you have an AI, despite the AI's particularly exceptional ability to perform early game shenanigans. It's very rare that you have an AI that can actually seal the deal at that point.
And that's what's gonna make the finals interesting, because Rage Alert, he's gone early, yet he has effective defenses against AoE weapons like nukes and rockets. But if I remember right, he also goes very low eco, so that might be detrimental.
He starts
Are we
low
ready to
eco
go?
for sure. Yes, we are. Let's
so we're
do
doing
this.
the bronze match with the finals first.
I believe we're doing the bronze match first. Samster versus Alex. Is that correct, Kronk?
Yeah, the bronze match comes always first.
Awesome. Yes, that is typically how we do things.
Hey, it's an AI tournament. That's not how you typically do things. You know what I mean?
That's fair. That is fair. So here on the left-hand side, we have... Wait, why did my bracket not update? Refresh. We have Samster at the left-hand side. Makes sense. He's already going with the shenanigans, with the sandbags all over the place. On the right-hand side, we have Alex. So, who do you think has the advantage here?
This is gonna be pretty close, I think. But I think those exposed MGs, not those half-exposed MGs, are gonna get shredded by miniguns. So, we'll see what happens there. And Samster goes really slow on his nuke rush, while Alex C is a little bit more effective.
Okay. I think Alex is going to come out on top of this one.
That's what I'm leaning toward.
They are definitely very close. Here's the thing. I don't think Alex has sufficient sniperage to overwhelm Samster's AI. Or Samster's counter sniper exposed shenanigans. So, I mean, enough snipers will just overwhelm Samster's shenanigans by virtue of slaughtering everything and not getting perpetually hooked up by the... I'm sorry.
Did you?
Yeah,
I saw that too. My
I'm
goodness.
sorry. I was trying to finish my thought, but like... Excuse me.
That's not... What? How does that happen? You saw what I saw, right?
Yeah.
That MG.
That machine gunner, so for those who didn't see it, I'm sorry, I have to point this out. This machine gunner, its hitbox, because it is hanging off the edge at a slant, is very technically, has a few pixels below the Y level of this brace. So there is a few pixel space right here where my pointer is, which can be sniped very technically. If a sniper round were to go in through this background bracing, above all 3 turbines, and land, it can very technically destroy this sandbag from below. And that's what happened. The AI saw that and was like, oh, this is a beautiful... It just tried it again.
I'm amazed.
It's trying it.
That's a shot that I could never imagine happening.
I would, as a human being, I would not have recognized that as a possibility.
Oh. That shot, I think, is even too accurate for the AI with that wobbly base.
Good lord.
I forgot everything we were just talking about.
It's still trying that shot. It is still trying that shot. It wants it. It wants that shot.
Oh, it almost got it again. But
the variance...
Even the sniper has some standard deviation, so... Yeah. That...
Good lord.
So far it's been pretty back and forth though.
It has been. There's not a whole lot of actual damage dealing weapons out. We've got incendiary mortars out of both sides. We have a swarm missile, but neither of these things. These things are harassment style weapons, or I usually consider swarm missiles to be hybrid, but one swarm missile is not going to be enough to make the difference. You can absolutely get some minor damage done, but none of these guys have exposed weapons. None of these guys have anything that's vulnerable, so we're not going to see any significant damage.
We're talking about Samster's base here. Back base is exposed weapons. And the miniguns have been shredding them, actually.
Yes.
You can see them. MGs are no longer
I was about to
alive.
say, that is the only thing that's really could be considered one-sided. There is now enough suppression out of Team 2 that Samster's shenanigans with the whole closed-off machine gunners to cause the AI to freak out and have a panic attack and meltdown, it's not working because Team 2 is just blowing through all of these pseudo-exposed things and able to, when it does focus these exposed machine gunners, it's able to take them down, and it's able to do that often enough that it's causing a very real problem for Samster.
It really seems like the miniguns are just not tempted by those bait. And it's heavily delayed back base. Back base has not even... Yep, it's been struggling.
You're right. It has been struggling, and it's struggling harder than I noticed. I think that's because this bottom machine gunner out of Team 2's top base, it doesn't actually have line of sight of the
So it's just shooting at those exposed.
It's just shooting at what it can see. That's actually a trick I put together for my AI. I don't know if you noticed my snipers all have different cones of fire, so they can't all fire at the same target. Yeah.
I was wondering if that's just wonky tiny doors, but...
No, I had the option to adjust that. Of course, tiny doors have a little bit of wonkiness to it, as you have put it, so I can't perfect that. But I did actually have it so that the snipers don't all hit the same spot. They do have overlapping cones of fire, but like say, some of the snipers can't shoot top, some can't shoot bottom. That way they don't get too distracted too hard.
That makes a lot of sense. Because, yeah, if there's a distraction MG, you don't want all your snipers to be distracted by that.
Right. All you need is one sniper with working properly to soft lock a base. So, I mean, I don't need all of them. I just need one.
Well, a nuke's about to be coming from top base, but Samster has a lot of MGs. Those doored MGs are doing a lot better than the exposed ones.
They are. And even those sandbags themselves are getting destroyed. Just courtesy of the minigunners.
It is kind of brutal how effective minigunners are against sandbags.
Mm-hmm. All Samster needs is a proper sniper out online, which he does have an exposed sniper now, which has no... It has no right to be alive, but it is alive, nonetheless. It did avenge his friends and has actually sniped out one of those miniguns. Let's see if it's able to do it again. It's able to do it again. So those miniguns are down.
That might be a little bit of a turnaround.
That might just be. That could actually unsoft lock both bases with that. I say soft lock, but Team 2's upper base was still able to put down a sniper despite being...
Neither base is soft lock.
Yeah.
It's just been kind of a... More like a trades that you're slowly losing in.
Soft lock is not the right word. That is, you are correct. It's just been having a rough time, you know.
Yep. It is kind of funny how similar these strategies are. Like I see 2 bases that have miniguns with nukes, and then I see 2 bases that have machine guns with mortars.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny. It's very similar strategies. And I still see that sniper trying to get that MG. It sees it's exposed. In the very, very, like, fairest definition of exposed. A very fundamental definition of exposed.
It is very technically exposed, and so that sniper will attempt to shoot at it. I'm surprised it's making an effort to shoot at the machine gunner rather than just the turbines.
I wonder if the priorities that it considers exposed MG is more important. Because you notice that it hasn't been sniping Samster's exposed turbine as much as it has been shooting those MGs.
That is true. I'm not sure. I can't figure it out. Like, I can't figure out why.
Day B-Man shall reveal. Well, actually, it already has revealed all the inner code of the AI. What am I talking about? Just no one's bothered to read it because it's like 10,000 lines long.
The nuke finally arrives and gets shot down by its own MGs. This is why we don't see nukes and mortars at every match. It just becomes a problem. The more mortars you use, the more anti-air becomes relevant and prevalent. The more anti-air becomes prevalent, the less mortars get used.
Well, Samster's been making a comeback. He has upgraded mortars, and he can almost afford upgrading one of his silos to a nuke.
Once those... We called it, once that sniper managed to take out those minigunners, it was the beginning of Samster coming back. He actually has a fighting chance now. From
the nice thing about that exposed sniper is it can instantly react to everything. And so the moment those minigunners open their doors, that was a horrible minigun shot, but no, the MG pulls it off.
Just barely. Good lord. Oh.
Some mortars about to land? Oh, just one. Oh, Samster just got... What happened to his...
I missed it. It had to have been the mortars over the top that made it through Samster's exposed gunners.
Yep. He was making progress, but that really set him back.
That definitely set him back real far.
So far, if those miniguns don't waste their volleys, I don't think.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, because that smoke. Look, you see, he did the smoke and then did the nuke. I tell you, I think it. B-Man must have programmed something.
I wouldn't be surprised, but now I'm curious as to see if this AI ever has an opportunity to rebuild this with this. Because if it can't rebuild while smoke is there, does it just break the AI? Is my question. I have no idea.
It is a real question.
It is a real question, but of course it only has 3 mines, so it's not going to be able to rebuild anyway because it's too poor to repair.
No metal, yeah.
But
all those doors can't repair.
It fired smoke, which would never cause a problem for the opponent because the opponent doesn't have the money to rebuild. I don't know why this sniper up here is just never being targeted, and it is destroying everything.
Well, don't you see? There are no snipers on, because that's the thing. Exposed snipers beat doored snipers because they get to fire first.
Yes.
It's kind of a weird exchange.
Well, yes and no. It depends on the scenario.
It really does, actually.
If the doored sniper targets the exposed sniper, then the doored sniper wins. But
yes.
If the doored sniper is targeting something else, like a 2v1 scenario, then a exposed sniper is extremely powerful. That's what's happening here. You have one exposed sniper that's just not getting shot at because for whatever reason the AI is deciding to shoot everything else in the world. And the exposed sniper is retaliating by slaughtering everything on Team 2.
Samster has officially made an AI that can do an exposed sniper well.
It's impressive, and I assume that this is going to be stolen and used by other players in future AI creation.
I hope so. I want to see better and better AIs each tournament. Let's see if that minigunner does his job. He sees the nuke. Let's see if he fires at it. No.
By the time the door opened, the exposed gunner, just the regular machine gunner, just wiped it out. Okay. That's one way to handle it.
Oh, the swarms are taking out the shield. That's an expensive repair because AI doesn't bother putting sandbags back. It's just gonna put another shield.
Mm-hmm. Which means that's gonna be real expensive. Actually, that base is soft locked and it's not repairing. It's
I
not
just
firing.
realized-
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Alex's base has hit that point where it locks itself and is no longer an active participant. It's not rebuilding, it's not repairing, it's not firing. He's got himself a problem.
I think that might make the difference.
That,
Because top base is getting a little bit pummeled.
yes.
He's kind of relying on bottom base rebuilding his machine gunners.
I think, given infinite time, Samster does actually win this. Samster has finally managed to build himself a third swarm missile out of his top base. Those minigunners are down once again.
How did that MG die? Oh, it must bounce off the door, I see. Yeah, the exposed sniper, double exposed snipers, that's actually...
Oh, that'll do it. Yeah. The only thing that could save some of the items from, some of the weapons from Team 2 is that there's only one exposed sniper, so it's not able to always be up. But with two of them, smoke is going to go away. It's almost such a shame, because Samster's builds, it's just going to fully destroy Team 2's build here, but it's only got 45 seconds to do it, and it can't, it's not going to be able to do that. Like, there's no way, right?
If the mortars land,
It's only
I think there's a
3.
chance.
He's got 30 seconds left. He doesn't have a nuke. He doesn't have anything to really deal damage. And in 30 seconds, Team 2 is going to win because a nuke landed and, frankly, almost destroyed Samster's forward base early on.
Yeah, but look at those batteries. Like, that core is exposed from the top.
It is. The mortars are going to hound it. 15 seconds, and the machine gunner takes out a chunk of them. No,
Not quite.
not quite. Very, very close. But alas.
Alexei is victorious.
GG.
That was a good game.
Very good game. Alright, so we're going to move on to the finals.
Who do you think is going to win this time?
I'm going to put my money on Rage Alert.
I'm putting my money on Rage Alert too. His simplicity with just mortars really seems to be doing really well.
Absolutely. Alright. Let's see. I'm almost ready for this. I may have had a little bit of an error. Ready when you are.
Okay.
Let's do this. Alright, so here on the left-hand side, we have Rage Alert doing Rage Alert things, going to build himself a nice giant batch of mortars. On the right-hand side, we have a much more fanciful base with tiny doors and rockets. It's going to be Eaton.
kind of almost exactly opposite design philosophies.
They really are, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they clash. I suspect, you know, I've already stated, and I'm going to stay behind. I think Rage Alert is going to come out on top.
Rage Alert has been like second. He was second the first tournament, but he did pretty well in the second one.
Indeed.
He has worked hard for this. And of course, Eaton, with all of his fancy tiny doors and all. It will be interesting. No MGs to protect Eaton's front base or top base. Not yet. And the mortars are coming quickly. He's building the spots for the MGs on the front base right about now, but is it going to be fast enough?
I think it'll
I
be
don't think so.
fast enough to stop just immediate death, but a few hits are going to get in, because I mean you have a few seconds of time with the incendiary mortars. Like, the incendiary mortars don't immediately destroy you, but like
They don't, but there's a little bit of annoying harassment.
It is a little bit of annoying harassment, but it's not going to be make or break to get a few hits in. The issue is that it's going to be a lot of hits, and now those gunners are exposed. They're already overheating. Machine gun, the mortars, if they were smart, would target the machine gunners. They're not going to, because that's how the AI works.
I'm kind of fearing for Rage Alert. He only has 3 mines, so he won't be able to maintain metal storage.
Yeah, well, he's not had that issue before. Of course, he doesn't usually get pummeled by rockets, which is a real concern at this point in time. Now, if those incendiary mortars can keep hitting the turbines, then, well, those rockets aren't going to be too big of a concern either, which is going to be nice.
One thing we discovered that's kind of weak about Eaton's design is he built so many MGs on his front base that they all get shot down by the they all shoot down the rockets coming from back base. And there will be a constant stream of mortars constantly shooting down all the rockets coming from back base. I say that and it hasn't happened like but once. But that wide wood span from Rage Alert is plenty to handle just 2 rockets firing intermittently. Rage Alert needs those heavy mortars if he wants to do some real damage.
Curious. I think just looking at the incomes here, Team 1's lower base is struggling from metal, but not significantly. It's still able to progress, it's still able to do things. So I think Team 1 is, despite taking hits from those rockets, is going to be able to just keep pushing forward, and 3 mines is sufficient to repair the damage from those 2 rockets and still continue to upgrade its mortars and fire the mortars. And that's going to be enough to put Eaton on an unrecoverable back foot.
I think it's gonna be a little bit of RNG to see if Eaton's own gunners shoot down his rockets.
That's definitely related, for sure.
Mortars are touching the back base, just lightly tapping it. But more mortars are coming. Oh, shot his own doors. That's gonna hurt. That's a heavy repair bill. He just... That is one thing about rockets. Because they spawn... The way the rockets spawn from the weapon, they spawn a little bit backward, and the AI is so determined to be fast about its doors, it tends to, well, shoot the doors.
That can happen, and it does cause explosions in itself, which happens with real players as well, which is really rather unfortunate.
So far, the 4 machine gunners, 5 machine gunners. Why am I saying 6 machine gunners? There's that one little 2 behind the bush that were hard to see. I've been doing well defending against the mortars. I say that, and of course, to get through.
They're trying. They are definitely trying for sure. It's I'm sorry. I just love watching the mortars happen as they happen. It's really quite good.
Neither are hit by the MGs. That's gonna hurt. But he has nothing to follow up with. Rockets aiming at the wrong target. Seems like this is gonna be a, or either end really quickly,
Or could take a while.
or take forever.
Like, if either of those 2 nukes are able to launch and hit a target, like that could be huge. That could absolutely be huge. I don't see it happening.
It does seem to be a little bit. But those mortars are just not getting through as consistently as they need to.
Huh. Here comes
Oh,
one
yep,
of them
shooting
gets
down his
shot
own
down.
nukes.
No core damage. So it's not going to make the difference there.
Oh my
god. What? Those mortars just destroying. That was gross.
That was so unexpected.
Whoa.
I
That was dramatic.
didn't. I expected the overall. I expected the overall outcome. Didn't
I
expect
said
it
it
right
was-
there in that way.
Yeah, me neither. That was a little bit more dramatic than I originally anticipated.
Oh dear.
Double nukes going for the wrong base.
Oh, but the
the
recoil.
knockback is taking out
Oh,
turbines
and it kept rebuilding it as it was being destroyed.
while swinging. Yes.
Yeah, that's a yikes. That's gonna wipe out all of its income. Not that it's not gonna get the income back. It'll get the income back, so not too big a deal. Oh my. These poor machine gunners, they're trying so hard, but they're just constantly overheating.
Yeah. The thing is, though, if you think about it, Rage Alert has been kind of smart. He, instead of building AA, he said, I'm going to just use the opponent's AA.
It's an effective strategy. It works. It really does.
Just rely on the opponent building AA, but, I mean, so far it's been working, so. I'm still a little bit in awe on how. I did not expect such a dramatic. I thought it was going to be more of a whittling away slowly. Not so much of a.
Oh, the volley. And all those mortars
Looks
look
like
like they
both-
were gonna.
Yeah. I don't see either base expanding from Rage Alert, so I assume they have ended their builds. Oh, triple nukes. That's gonna hurt. I said triple nukes. Triple mortars. Same thing.
I mean, I still think the Team 2's top base has soft-locked itself. It did build further that one time, and it's not rebuilding destroyed braces,
Well,
so I think it is...
It looks actually completed, I think. Well, not quite complete, but it did better than it did last time, where it got stuck on that sandbag.
Yeah.
It's gotten enough energy production, enough batteries to consistently be firing its nukes. The only problem is, Rage Alert built the proper defenses for nukes. That turbine is a energy consumer, a metal consumer. It's like it just wasted like 1,000 metal building
every
that
time.
turbine. Just gave up rebuilding that turbine. It's
Yeah.
just like, what's the point?
It doesn't
think
have the
it'd be
money. It doesn't have the money for it. It only has 3 mines. It just straight up doesn't have the money for it. It's 200. It's 200 metal every time it rebuilds it.
The thing that's kind of freaking me out is how top base has not repaired its wood spam and is very vulnerable to double nukes.
It is. And I mean, that's why I'm saying, like, it's definitely soft locked. I'm pretty certain it was supposed to go farther and do more. It's having a mental breakdown.
All it needs to do right now, though, is not die for 4 minutes. Oh, wow, it got lucky. Did you see that? And all the machine gunners. Oh, that's it.
Yep.
That's
And
it.
that's a
GG.
shutdown. That is the end. Rage Alert is our victor. I'm sorry, I've got to check out the instant replay here on that
Well
first,
done. I gotta see that too.
because that was brutal. I'm pretty certain it was a self-detonation at that.
Yeah, I think it was the 2 rockets hit the doors, destroyed the BG, and completely.
Just broke it. Yep, that's what happens. That's exactly what happened. We have the rockets. And
It's already bad when one does it. When they both do it together.
right here.
Tiny doors. Tiny doors.
Double
and rockets.
firing. And kaboom. All 4 rockets hit themselves and the base just falls apart. That is it actually almost took out its friend with it by bouncing and rolling down the hill. That's a way to go and a half. Woo.
Wow.
Oh my.
Well, I'll congratulate Rage Alert. Well done.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Rage Alert. You have won the tournament. Fort's AI tournament number 3. Indoors giveth,
2v2.
indoors taketh away. Yeah, the 2v2 part was different. A lot more to work with, and I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I'm just watching the final killing blow. Just dropping the
Rage
core
Alert
like an
versus
egg.
Rage Alert. Oh, jeez. Alright, so that has been very good. Stream, I want to apologize. I was supposed to have a video out right now for you guys to all go watch. Unfortunately, had a bit of an error with it. I'm going to have to re-upload that. That's going to be about half an hour out. So check back in half an hour. You guys have a nice video to watch. But for now, have a good one, everyone. Congratulations to our victors.
Congratulations.
And I will see you guys later.